Chapter 2299. West led the group to Chen Zhao's hotel room and knocked on the door. Moore's hand was in a cast and bandage. The others were more or less injured too. Chen Zhao had already asked the hotel staff to prepare a table full of sumptuous dishes. He looked up at the group. Sit down. The group didn't stand on ceremony. They sat down in a circle. Those who wanted to eat, those who wanted to drink drank. How's your situation? Chen Zhao asked casually. The others were all busy eating. Only West said, it's not good. Huh? Why not? After participating in the Battle of Holy Glory this time, we discovered that our team's strength is probably at the second level of all the participating teams. Apart from the top few teams, we can basically deal with most of the teams. But apart from fighting, we're practically useless. Even in battle, our hands and feet are tied. We might not even be able to use 60% of our strength. Do you know the problem? President, our problem is you. Me. Yes, you. West nodded. You've really influenced us too much. In the words of the Chinese, success was because of Xiao He, and failure was also because of Xiao He. Chen Zhao had succeeded the supernatural organization and made it from a nameless and even marginalized supernatural organization to the top supernatural organization in North America. In North America, there were basically no other organizations that could fight against the supernatural organization. But Chen Zhao's influence on the organization was too great. Everyone was used to fighting alongside Chen Zhao. This also restricted the organization. If the battlefield was only in North America, it wouldn't matter if Chen Zhao joined the battlefield or not. However, if it was a higher-level battlefield or arena, with a higher-level opponent, then it would be a different story. Their habits would become their Achilles heel. Chen Zhao would always choose the strongest enemy. They would never have to worry about whether Chen Zhao could defeat the enemy. They were even worried that Chen Zhao's opponent would lose too quickly, and Chen Zhao would join their battle. But when Chen Zhao wasn't by their side, everything was messed up. Chen Zhao and West communicated. Chen Zhao roughly understood the problem West was talking about. Actually, everyone had already felt it in the past. However, at that time, no one had truly realized the severity of the situation. It wasn't until this moment that they felt it most directly. In the past, when West was leading the team, he kept emphasizing that he didn't want Chen Zhao to interfere. But they also knew that Chen Zhao could intervene at any time. But it was different this time. The rules restricted Chen Zhao, and also restricted them. In a trial of this scale, the help Chen Zhao could provide them was very limited. Even if Chen Zhao had a way for them to cheat, he wouldn't do it. It wasn't because Chen Zhao was fair and just, but because it was meaningless. What they wanted was neither a title nor a reward. What they needed was a trial to prove themselves. President, do you know about the anomaly in the wasteland market? Yesterday's terrifying earthquake in the desolate market. If I say I don't know, would you believe me? That super earthquake had something to do with you. Of course, West didn't believe it. Also, from Chen Zhao's expression, the earthquake wasn't just related to him. It was even possible that Chen Zhao was the main cause of this disaster. Chen Zhao ignored West's question. Hele eyes, if I give you a god's body, can you make it into a zombie puppet? Everyone turned to look at Chen Zhao. Guild leader, did you kill another god? No. Chen Zhao shook his head and told them what he'd experienced in the desolate market. Everyone listened with their mouths agape. They'd thought that they'd already experienced many ups and downs in the desolate market trial. But after hearing Chen Zhao's words, they didn't know what to say anymore. Was what they'd done a trial? Compared to Chen Zhao, they felt like they were playing house. I killed that red demon, and the god's body became my spoils of war. President, let me see it. Hele Eyes was very interested in the god's body. Ruan, go set up a magic seal to seal the aura, West said. Ruan nodded. He also wanted to see the god's body first. He even wanted to get some materials from god's body. But he still went to set up the magic seal obediently. A while later, Chen Zhao took out the god's body. Even though it was a corpse, the majestic power it contained made everyone's heart palpitate. Chen Zhao looked up at Hele Eyes. What do you think? Can I? If you can, it's yours. Hele Eyes shook her head regretfully. If she could, she'd be happy to make a god's body into her puppet. But she didn't have enough power. President, I can't do it. Can't do it. Is it because you don't have enough magic? Or do you need a lot of time? Chen Zhao asked. Neither. It's the divinity in the god's body. As long as it exists, it can't fall or be corroded by my death magic. Is there a way to get rid of the divinity? President, let's not talk about whether there's a way to get rid of the divinity. Even if there's a way, the body's value will be greatly reduced, Ruan said. Ruan Faxaban said, the reason why this corpse is the body of God is that it contains divinity. Without this divinity, it is just a relatively strong corpse. So it's useless? Chen Zhao asked, disappointed. President, give me the corpse. Ruan Faxi was so excited that he almost lost control. A god's body. It was even rarer than a dragon. No, to him, dragons weren't rare at all. The Dragon Balls in the supernatural organization's warehouse were enough for them to play with. Even if they wanted to drink dragon bone soup every day, it wouldn't be a problem. But a god's body was different. After all, even if Chen Zhao killed a god, there were no gods in the world for him to kill. It wasn't the era of gods anymore. That was why this god's body was so precious. What a waste, West said. He didn't know what this god's body could be used for. West wasn't worried about blaspheming gods. He didn't fear gods at all. But if it was used by Ruan Faxben for all kinds of experiments, or even cut into pieces by him, it was simply a blasphemy against a rare treasure. Chapter 2300. No, I'm not going to put this body in a container. I've heard that there are legends about God's blood all over the world. In some legends, people who drink God's blood will have divine power. In some legends, God's blood can make people immortal. Therefore, I want to extract something valuable from God's blood. Ruan Faxi didn't hide his intentions. He said it openly. He knew that there was no point in lying to Chen Zhao and West. He might even lose his chance completely. Furthermore, if he had obtained the body of this god through deceit, he would not have been able to do so. What if Chen Zhao found out? Fight Chen Zhao head-on? Stop joking. Ruan Faxi knew very well that his head would be twisted off and kicked like a ball. After that he might be resurrected by Helis. Of course, it wouldn't be a normal resurrection. There's very little god's blood in this god's body. It's pitifully little. The body looked like a normal person's. Its skin was firm and shiny. In reality, it was just a dried corpse. There was probably only a few mouthfuls of saliva left in its body. President, science is always accompanied by certain risks. But if we aren't willing to take on even this little risk, science will never progress, Ruan Faxi said righteously. We're not talking about science now. We're talking about theology and alchemy. It's anti-science. That's true, but the logic is the same, right? Ruan Faxi wasn't a person who gave up easily. Plus, if he tried hard, he wouldn't lose anything whether he succeeded or not. Investments need returns. If you can control this god's body and make use of it, I don't mind giving it to you. Because your increased combat power also belongs to the supernatural organization. But if you experiment with it, it's fine if you succeed. But if you fail, you won't even get your money back. President, even if you're a financial man, investing is risky. That's why I never invest in finance. Ruan Faxi didn't even have the chance to say the lines he'd prepared. But people should be adventurous, right? I like to live a stable life. West glanced at Ruan Faxben and said, Ruan, you're using the god's blood for an experiment. You should at least explain what you can research and what we can obtain. After all, there are probably only a few portions of the god's blood in the world. You're just saying that you can refine something valuable. Isn't that a little too disrespectful? To put it bluntly, both Chen Zhao and the supernatural organization were like investors. On the other hand, Ruan was more like a fanatical scientist. Businessmen pursued profits, while scientists pursued discoveries. They weren't on the same channel at all. Wes was actually speaking up for Ruan Faxben. Although Ruan Faxi was a fanatical alchemist, he wasn't an idiot. He understood the meaning behind West's words. President, I think the most basic research is enough to create a potion that can increase the power of the supernatural organization. I'm confident about that. But if we want to study the effects of the god's blood, we'll need some formulas. What kind of formula? I'm not sure, Ruan Faxben said. There are related legends all over the world, Ruan Faxben said. At the same time, there are a few recipes that use divine blood as the main ingredient. If I can find and obtain those recipes, it will be of great help to my research. Chen Zhao and Wes glanced at each other. Wes nodded slightly and said, President, how about this? We'll temporarily increase the power of all the members of the supernatural organization as Ruan's minimum requirement. The time limit is 1 year. Also, we'll help him search for related formulas around the world, so he can study the god's blood further. Sure, but for now we'll focus on the god's blood. I still hope to keep the god's body intact. If anyone can use the god's body to increase their power in the future, the god's body will belong to them. Actually, Chen Zhao was more inclined to give the god's body to Helith. If she could use it, she'd benefit the most directly. But Helith said that she couldn't use it, so Chen Zhao couldn't do anything. Just then, the demon knife that Dongye Tianqi had placed beside his chair suddenly emitted a cloud of smoke that enveloped him. White-faced ghosts controlled Dongye Tianqi's body. Dongye Tianqi turned into a warrior. President. White Mask gave Chen Zhao a 90-degree bow respectfully. Of course, White-faced Ghost wasn't here to cause trouble. Causing trouble in front of Chen Zhao and the 10 members of the supernatural organization was asking for trouble. What is it? President, I hope that I can slash this body. Everyone rolled their eyes. Chen Zhao said that he wanted to keep the god's body intact. White-faced Ghost ran out and said that he wanted to cut him once. Why? I want to obtain more power, White-faced Ghost said righteously. I also want to serve the president and the supernatural organization better. You only need to cut this body once. Yes, I am a demon blade. To me, I can only slash humans and monsters. However, if I can slash a god, I will be able to rise to a higher level. I will become a demon blade that can slash gods. Chen Zhao raised an eyebrow. There's such a thing. Yes, so please allow my request, Lord President. Chen Zhao didn't agree to White-faced Ghost's request immediately. Instead, he asked Dongye Tianqi, Dongye Tianqi, can you sense his intentions? Dongye Tianqi had been possessed by White-faced Ghost, but he still maintained his consciousness. Dongye Tianqi's appearance returned to normal. President, I can feel Demon Knife's desire and anticipation. For now, he's loyal to you. To Demon Knife, there was no such thing as eternal loyalty. Once a demon knife was so powerful that its master couldn't control it, it would either kill its master or change its master. This was why Dongye Tianqi said that demon knife was temporarily loyal to Chen Zhao. If the white-faced ghost reaches the level of God Slayer, can you control him? As long as the president is here, he'll never dare to disobey me. What's your intention? After all, Dongye Tianqi was the one who used white-faced ghost the most, so Chen Zhao was more willing to listen to his suggestions. President, I hope you can agree to Demon Knife's request. If he dares to disobey you one day, I'll personally bury him. Chapter 2301. Dongye Tianqi wasn't just a warrior. He was also a blacksmith and a swordsmith. He didn't just know swordsmanship. He also knew the knife burial spell. This was a spell that every swordsmith in Japan knew. From the first day the demon blade appeared, the knife burial spell was born. The knife burial spell was a spell that swordsmiths used to deal with demon blades. The first swordsmith forged the first demon blade. It was a bad omen and sealed the blade's soul. The demon blade wasn't willing to be sealed, so it killed its master and killed the swordsmith. In the end, the demon blade fell into eternal silence. The swordsmith also died to the demon blade he had forged. The swordsmith's name was White Cloak Workshop. The demon blade was called Not Evil. Of course, usually, the demon blade would inherit the swordsmith's surname. This was why the first demon blade was called White Cloak Not Evil. This legend was very widespread in Japan. For every swordsmith, it was like group training. As soon as the demon blade appeared, it would be sealed and its soul would be buried. But now, swordsmiths didn't believe in this anymore. In fact, most swordsmiths wanted to forge a demon blade to prove their ability. Dongye Tianqi spoke up for White Mask. It was because the stronger White Mask was, the stronger he was. In the supernatural organization, which was getting stronger by the day, his power was no longer on the list. Apart from Chen Zhao, the top echelons like Gaia, Helis, and Norma couldn't keep up either. Originally, he was a core force in the second echelon, but the people chasing after him gave him more and more pressure. He might even fall to the third echelon. This gave him a lot of pressure. Actually, Chen Zhao and the others didn't look down on Dongye Tianqi because of this. After all, Chen Zhao had recruited him because of his forging skills, not his combat ability. Moreover, Dongye Tianqi's forging skills were very useful in the supernatural organization. Do I just need to cut the body? Chen Zhao asked. No. Actually, the process is a bit complicated. How complicated? There's a lot of preparation work, Dongye Tianqi said. We can't perform the god-slaying ritual here. Is it a ritual? Chen Zhao was surprised. Yes, of course. If he was a living god, there would be no need to go through so much trouble. Just slash him once. But he's just a corpse, so a certain amount of preparation is needed. Okay, we'll talk about it when we get back. Chen Zhao nodded. Guild leader, we would like to inquire about the contents of the next trial, so that we can prepare ourselves. Not yet, Chen Zhao said. I'll go ask later. After everyone had eaten and drunk their fill, they stood up and bade farewell. As soon as West and the others left, Bifla came to Chen Zhao's room. Chen Zhao didn't know how he got in. Before the door even opened, he had appeared in the room out of nowhere. I know what the next trial is about, Bifla said. Chen Zhao glanced at Bifla. What do you want to tell me? I don't need anything. What you've communicated with me before is already enough. This time Bifla was very straightforward. Due to the disaster caused by your battle with the Red Devil, nearly 200 spiritualists lost their lives. Therefore, the trial this time will be more focused on safety. So many people died. That disaster is far more serious than you can imagine, Bifla said. Bifla said, right now, Celestial Master Zhang, the 23rd Blood Mary, and Wendy are constantly comforting the elders and families of those who have died because of this matter. Therefore, the third trial has to be a safer and more reliable one. What's the third trial? Wenda also opened up an alternate dimension. The scale of this alternate dimension isn't as large as the Wasteland Market, but it's more lively than the Wasteland Market. It's called the Four Seasons Palace, and the third trial will be held there. The content of the trial is to defeat Wendy, 23rd Blood Mary, and Celestial Master Zhang's clone respectively. What kind of clone? Chen Zhao asked, surprised. Zhang Tianyi had learned the clone spell from him. Chen Zhao didn't know Wendy, and hadn't interacted with him before, so he didn't know how strong he was. However, he didn't know what Blood Mary's clone spell was like. But with their abilities, no matter how weak their clones were, they wouldn't be too weak. Was it possible to defeat 3 of their clones? Actually, they're not real clones. They're 3 puppets with their magic power, and are completely controlled by the 3 of them. In terms of magic power alone, the 3 puppets are above average, but they're very special. As long as it's a spell that the 3 controllers can use, they can use it too. That's why they're called clones. In other words, they have their consciousness and magic, but their magic power is at the same level as the participants, right? You can say that, but more accurately, their magic power is lower than the participants. Even so, the Holy Glory participants probably can't beat them, right? For example, old man Zhang Tianyi. Just give him a little bit of magic power, and he might be able to kill his opponent directly. Don't underestimate the participants. There are many geniuses among them. They're not as weak as you think. This has nothing to do with underestimating them. It's the truth. If I don't say it, will they really beat Zhang Tianyi? Even if it's his clone. They don't necessarily need to beat Celestial Master Zhang, Bifla said. In fact, as long as they defeat Wendy's clone puppet, they can win the ticket to the next round. As for the 23rd generation Blood Mary and Celestial Master Zhang's clone puppet, the more outstanding their performance, the greater the advantage they'll get. To put it bluntly, this trial is actually to eliminate the bad seeds and select the best participants for the next trial. How strong is Wendy? Top-level magic power, but not yet at the Shangqing realm. He should be considered a second-level powerhouse. But his strongest point is his alchemy magic. His clone puppet can also use alchemy? Of course. Those 3 clones were all made by him. They were prepared for this trial. Do you think he didn't consider this problem? This looks like a guarding ring. If you pass one, you can go to the next. This is not an arena. The final event of the Holy Glory battle is an arena. It's been like this in previous years. There's really an arena? Of course, and the final arena is a one-on-one battle. All the remaining members of the team will be reshuffled and randomly ranked. Then, they will compete in an elimination arena. Chapter 2302. On the weekend, Failai brought the kids to Clive's house. Failai realized that Clive and Ampa had mini kids too. Mr. Clive, are they your kids? Failai asked, confused. She remembered that Clive had said that he and his wife couldn't have children. They're Ampa's and my adopted children, Clive said. Ampa really likes kids, but she'll never have them, so she can only adopt them. Clive looked at his kids playing with Failai's kids. He liked them too, but he was more rational than his wife. Ampa still couldn't accept reality. Clive knew very well that they would never have children. Clive looked at Failai. What about you? Why did you adopt so many kids? They're related to my husband. They're not complete strangers, Failai said. Instead of sending them to an orphanage, it's better for us to take care of them. Ampa was busy giving candy and snacks to the kids. Since Ampa had planned for today's gathering, he was well prepared. At least the kids had enough food. Clive, where are you working now? Failai remembered that Ampa had said last time that Clive was in school. He should be a teacher there. I'm a physics teacher at Mountain Town Middle School, Clive said. Oh, I remember Daedalus saying that you're preparing the enrollment procedures for the kids, right? Daedalus should be going to middle school, right? Yes. Failai and Chen Zhao were considering whether to arrange a noble school or a regular school for the kids. Of course, the so-called noble school didn't mean that only nobles could attend. Real noble schools focused on elite education. But if they sent the kids to a noble school, they would lose the fun of regular kids. If it was a regular school, it would definitely be a school in Mountain Town. The middle schools and elementary schools in Mountain Town were average. The education level and teachers were below average. Whether it was a noble school or an ordinary school, it could be said that there were pros and cons. This was why Chen Zhao and Failai were hesitant. The way of thinking and the world view of the children raised in these 2 schools was as different as heaven and earth. Failai shared what was bothering her with Clive. Miss Failai, it depends on what you expect of them. Cliff said, I used to be a teacher in a noble school for 3 years. I know the environment and teaching methods of a noble school. To be honest, most children, or even all children, should not receive that kind of education. There's something wrong with the education of the noble schools? The problem is very big. Cliff said, there was once a teacher who gave his students an assignment to cheat their parents of $100, no matter the means. This kind of education has already violated the law, right? Yes, that's true. But there are about 2,000 elite schools in the United States, and all of them use this kind of education method. Extreme and extreme education methods. In the future, most of the children who graduate from these schools will be able to get into famous universities or get a good job, but they will lose their bottom line. Miss Failai, you want the children to have a complete childhood and have their own social life, but social life in a noble school is more about networking, not childhood friendships. You are right. Failai nodded. At this time, Didi's voice came from the courtyard. Little Jerlin, you can't touch that. Ampa saw little Jerlin and Didi in the courtyard. Then, he saw that Jerlin was holding a plant that looked like weeds in her hand, and his expression immediately changed. Baby, throw this away. Ampa rushed over in a hurry. It was a magic plant she had planted in the courtyard. This magic plant had a very strong curse effect. But Jerlin did not care, and directly stuffed the magic plant into her mouth. This time, everyone was anxious. Didi picked up Jerlin anxiously and pinched her chin. Spit it out. Don't. Little Jerlin pushed Didira's palm away. She did not care and swallowed it. Jerlin was used to it at home. She had almost peeled off a layer of grass. She dared to stuff plants and bugs into her mouth. Most of the time, no one cared about her. After all, as long as it was harmless, eating it would not be a big problem. Amber and Clive also saw little Jerlin swallow the magic plant. They were a little flustered. Miss Phelan, something's wrong. The plant Jerlin ate is poisonous. Carrying Jerlin, Didi came to Phelan anxiously. Phelan's expression also became panicked. Poisonous. Deadly poison. It's very troublesome, Didi said with a serious expression. At this time, Amber rummaged in the drawer and found a bottle of medicine. Give Jerlin this. It can neutralize the plant's poison. This is, of course, Phelan could not accept this medicine of unknown origin. I'll take my daughter to the hospital. Miss Ampa, Mr. Cliff, I'm sorry, but we need to go. Ampa hesitated for a moment and still stuffed the medicine into Phelan's hands. If it doesn't work after going to the hospital, or if Jerlin has epileptic symptoms, use this. Phelan thought for a moment and still accepted the medicine. Phelan carried Jerlin into the car, while Didi was responsible for taking the other children away. Phelan had only driven a short distance with Jerlin when she received Didira's call. Miss Phelan, that medicine should be the antidote. Antidote? Little Jerlin ate a void spirit herb, a magical plant. The void spirit herb can force a person's soul out of their body. You're saying that Jerlin ate a magic plant? Yes, Didi replied over the phone. And I can feel that the potion Lady Ampa just gave you should be a magic potion. Are they spiritualists too? I'm not sure. I didn't know that they were spiritualists before. They've never shown it to me. Should I tell your uncle? Phelan asked. It's best. I don't think Miss Ampa and Mr. Cliff have any bad intentions, but Jerlin ate their things by mistake, so I still need to let him know. That's true. Phelan accepted Didi's suggestion. After all, she did not know magic at all. Didi was also not familiar with other systems of magic, so she should let Chenjiao know. Divine King of the Nine Heavens. Chapter 2303. What? Jerlin was poisoned. Chenjiao jumped up. How is she now? I'll go back now. Bifla glanced at Chenjiao. The two of them had teamed up to roam the streets of Istanbul again. Something happened at home, Chenjiao said immediately. I have to go back. I've been a professional doctor for a long time, Bifla said. I've studied ancient and modern medicine. Do you need me to go with you? Chenjiao thought about it. He was a doctor too. But he didn't know what was going on with Jerlin, so he decided to take Bifla with him. Perhaps Jerlin's problem was very troublesome. Perhaps he couldn't solve it, but Bifla could. Sure, I'll take you. You're not planning to fly back to LA, are you? Bifla looked at Chenjiao in surprise. What? Is it okay? You can fly at high speed for a long time? Can you fly faster than a plane? Yes. For us, there's no upper limit to magic power. Why not? Okay. I haven't tried long-distance flying before. Plus, my flying speed hasn't been that high. Then I'll let you experience extreme flying speed. How about that? Chenjiao grinned. Sure. I'd like to see how fast you can take me. Chenjiao grabbed Bifla. Bifla was also ready in an instant. Instantly, Bifla felt a huge pressure pressing down on him. Chenjiao had already turned into a beam of light. He dragged Bifla into the sky. Right now in Istanbul at night, one could clearly see a beam of light flying up from below. It passed through the night and disappeared into the distance. Fast, too fast. Even Bifla felt the pressure. Bifla watched the disappearing lights of the city fly away. In just a few seconds, Chenjiao and Bifla were already on the sea. The direct distance from Istanbul to LA was about 11,000 kilometers. They had to pass through the Black Sea, and then the Tyrrhenian Sea. Then they had to pass through the Strait of Gibraltar and enter the North Atlantic. To avoid being detected by high-altitude satellites, Chenjiao flew at a low altitude, close to sea level. Bifla could only use his senses to determine his current direction. He couldn't even open his eyes. About 2 or 3 minutes later, Bifla clearly felt his speed decrease. Bifla opened its eyes and found an unfamiliar city in front of it. That is LA, Chenjiao said. What's your flying speed? I haven't calculated it, but it should be over Mach 180. Bifla sucked in a breath of cold air. He himself was not proficient in flying in the first place. His own speed was about 100 kilometers per hour. However, Chen Zhao had crossed the Pacific Ocean in less than 2 minutes. This speed was already explosive. This is the speed of my brand new form, after transcending the calamity. It wasn't this fast before. I tested my speed with a professional speed measuring device before. And it's about Mach 45. Bifla was once again astonished. Even the speed from before was beyond his reach. Chen Zhao's speed just now had probably reached dozens of kilometers per second. That was almost 1,000 times faster than his flying speed. When he reached the sea outside Los Angeles, he slowed down, but he was still shockingly fast. A moment later, they landed outside Mirror Lake Manor. Just then, Fei Lai rushed out of the house. "Chen, you're back so soon?" Fei Lai was surprised too. She'd thought that no matter how fast Chen Zhao was, he would need a few hours to get back. After all, she had no idea how fast Chen Zhao was. Plus, Chen Zhao was far away in Istanbul. "Yes, Fei Lai, this is Bifla, my friend." "Hello, madam." Bifla nodded slightly. "Hello. How's little Jerlin?" Fei Lai told Chen Zhao about the situation. "Jerlin doesn't seem to have any symptoms. She's still jumping around." Chen Zhao and Bifla entered the manor. Jerlin was still running around and playing around. "Your daughter is very active," Bifla said meaningfully. "Did she take stimulants?" "This joke isn't funny at all." Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. "Wow, Dad." Seeing Chen Zhao return, Jerlin pounced on his leg excitedly and hugged him. Chen Zhao held Jerlin in his arms. "Darling, I heard that you're eating random food again." "Humph. It doesn't taste good at all." "Do you usually find good food in the yard?" Those who didn't know would think that Chen Zhao abused Jerlin and didn't give her enough to eat, so she had to look for random food in the yard. Jerlin thought back seriously. After a while she answered, "I don't think so." While the father and daughter were talking, Chen Zhao was also secretly checking Jerlin's body. But after a long time, Chen Zhao didn't find anything wrong with Jerlin. Little Jerlin still looked healthy. Chen Zhao glanced at Bifla. "Darling, this is Uncle Bifla." "Uncle Bifla." Jerlin gave Bifla a bright and sweet smile. "Hello, darling." Bifla put on a rare gentle smile and opened his arms. "Do you want me to hug you?" Jerlin was outgoing and not afraid of strangers at all. "Uncle Bifla, hug." Bifla took the opportunity to take Jerlin and check her body at the same time. However, just like Chen Zhao, he couldn't find anything wrong with little Jerlin, even after checking for a long time. "Do you still have the potion Cliff gave you? Did you give it to Jerlin?" "No." Fei Lai shook her head. "I don't know if it's harmful, so I didn't dare to use it." Fei Lai handed the potion to Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao sniffed it first. It had a faint fragrance, but he didn't find anything wrong with it. "Let me see." Bifla took the potion from Chen Zhao. "Yes, this is spirit summoning water. It's the antidote to the void spirit grass. There's nothing else." "Does Jerlin need the spirit summoning water now?" Chen Zhao asked. "I'm not sure," Bifla said hesitantly. If a normal person consumes the void spirit grass, their soul will directly leave their body, and they need to be summoned back with the spirit summoning water. However, your daughter doesn't show any symptoms of the void spirit grass. Then is she okay now? I'm not sure. Bifla didn't dare to come to a conclusion. After all, she was Chen Zhao's descendant. He'd never encountered something like this. Who knew if something would happen to Jerlin afterwards? Has she come into contact with other spells? Not yet. Chapter 2304. Not finding a problem didn't mean there was no problem. Especially a child. Chen Zhao's child. So Chen Zhao couldn't let his guard down. You don't have any ideas? I can find Celestial Master Zhang, or 23rd Blood Mary, and ask them to check. Chen Zhao thought about it. He didn't have any other ideas now. He could only keep Jerlin by his side. He could go to Istanbul and find Celestial Master Zhang, or 23rd Blood Mary, and ask them to check. Of course, Chen Zhao didn't have to find a problem with Jerlin, but in his current situation, he wouldn't feel at ease if he didn't find a problem. Fei Lai, I'll take Jerlin to Istanbul. Chen, sorry, I didn't take good care of Jerlin. No one wants this to happen, Chen Zhao said. It's not anyone's fault. If anyone's at fault, it's Jerlin. After giving some instructions to Fei Lai, Chen Zhao hurried to Istanbul with Jerlin. Help me carry Jerlin. Also protect her, Chen Zhao said. When Chen Zhao used energization, he could bring people along, but he couldn't use protective spells. For example, when he'd brought Bifla to L.A., Bifla had suffered quite a bit on the way. Based on his speed, Jerlin couldn't handle it. Bifla was happy to carry Jerlin. Daddy fly. Seeing Chen Zhao and Bifla carry her higher and higher, Jerlin screamed in excitement. Jerlin, close your eyes. When you open them again, you'll find yourself in Istanbul, Bifla said gently. Chen Zhao glanced at Bifla. You seem to know how to get along with children. I was once a father too. Chen Zhao didn't continue asking. After all, Bifla was over 400 years old. His child didn't have Bifla's abilities. It was very likely that he'd passed away with time. Therefore, this should be a very sad topic for him. When Bifla carried Jerlin, the control of his arms made him seem more like a father. Chen Zhao didn't slow down because Bifla would protect Jerlin. Jerlin gradually fell asleep in Bifla's arms. She was snoring softly and seemed to have fallen asleep. Soon Chen Zhao and Bifla arrived in Istanbul. Back at the hotel, Bifla patted little Jerlin lightly. My dear, it's time to wake up. Bifla did not wake little Jerlin. Chen Zhao took Jerlin. Forget it. Let her sleep. Bifla nodded. I'll go find Celestial Master Zhang and the 23rd generation Blood Mary. Yes, thank you. After Bifla left, Chen Zhao stayed by Jerlin's side. Jerlin was sound asleep, but after waiting for 2 hours, Chen Zhao felt a little uneasy, because Jerlin was sleeping too soundly. Usually, a child of little Jerlin's age would throw a tantrum. Sometimes it was too cold or too hot. Or if she had a nightmare, she would cry in her sleep. Both little Jerlin and little Larissa were in the same situation. Most children have this condition, and there was no way to stop it. But little Jerlin was sleeping too soundly today. Chen Zhao walked to Jerlin's side and gently patted her cheek. Jerlin, wake up. It's time for breakfast. If a child didn't have enough sleep, she would cry too. If she had enough sleep, she would wake up quickly if she heard the sound of food in her sleep. However, Chen Zhao called out twice, but little Jerlin was still asleep. She was still snoring softly. Chen Zhao finally confirmed that something was wrong with Jerlin. Chen Zhao immediately picked up the phone. Bifla, where's old Zhang and the 23rd generation Blood Mary? They're busy. I'll have to wait for a while. Bring them here immediately. Jerlin is still sleeping. I can't wake them up no matter how hard I call. Chen Zhao's tone was hurried. How's her breathing? Her heart rate? I've already checked. Her breathing and heart rate are normal. Her temperature is normal. Her complexion is normal. And her soul is normal too. It hasn't left her body, but she just can't wake up. Just then, Zhang Tianyi took Bifla's call. Chen Zhao, how's your daughter? I don't know. She just can't wake up. It wouldn't be too big of a problem if it was just eating the void spirit grass by mistake. However, I've heard Bifla's description just now. Your daughter's situation seems to be a little different. Normally, if an ordinary person eats a void spirit grass by mistake, they'll experience symptoms of an out-of-body experience very quickly. Furthermore, your daughter isn't even 2 years old yet, so the symptoms should be more obvious. Zhang Tianyi said hesitantly. Just tell me if you have a solution. Chen Zhao was in a bad mood. I'll go over now, Zhang Tianyi said. A while later, Zhang Tianyi and Bifla arrived at the hotel Chen Zhao was staying at. After arriving at the hotel, the first thing Zhang Tianyi saw was little Jerlin sleeping soundly on the bed. It wasn't his first time seeing her. Your daughter's soul is sleeping, not her body. Zhang Tianyi made his judgment at first glance. The void spirit grass seems to have a special effect in your daughter's body. It didn't make her soul leave her body, but it became a soul hypnosis effect. This is too strange. Normally, in order for a magic plant to have other effects, the plant has to have contact with magic. However, there's no magic in your daughter's body, nor are there any signs of contact with magic. Zhang Tianyi looked at Chen Zhao and asked for confirmation. She really hasn't practiced magic before, right? No. Chen Zhao shook his head. Do you have a solution? There are many ways to awaken the soul, but most of them aren't suitable for your daughter. Most of them aren't suitable. In other words, there's still a small portion of them, right? Right now, I can't even confirm your daughter's symptoms. Do I dare to make a choice? Zhang Tianyi looked at Chen Zhao helplessly. Even if Chen Zhao said that he didn't have to bear any responsibility, Zhang Tianyi didn't know where to start. He really didn't dare to do anything. If he could wake Zhirlin up, everything would be fine. If there were any unexpected changes, then the benefactor would immediately become the enemy. When Blood Mary comes, Zhang Tianyi said, let her take a look. Chen Zhao was very unhappy, but he didn't know who he should be angry at. Suppressing his anger, he sat on the sofa quietly, but his expression was enough to explain his current mood. Not long after, the 23rd generation Blood Mary arrived. When he entered, he saw everyone with different expressions. In the end, his gaze landed on little Zhirlin. Chapter 2305. Little Zhirlin is in the process of awakening. You guys are the most powerful people in the world. Do you really need me to judge something like this? 23rd looked at everyone in surprise. Awakening? Impossible. There's no sign of magic power on her at all. Zhang Tianyi immediately rejected 23rd's judgment. She's awakened the nirvanic power. Zhang Tianyi frowned. Bifla studied little Zhirlin carefully. Chen Zhao was confused. What's the nirvanic power? It's an extremely special magic system. Only witches who awaken this kind of magic talent can learn and use it, 23rd said. Have you guys never heard of it? I've heard of it, but I've never seen it, Zhang Tianyi said. Plus, I don't know what's so special about the nirvanic witches. Of course I can't judge. So my daughter is awakening? Did something happen? Chen Zhao suddenly heaved a sigh of relief. The night of awakening was extremely dangerous for other people and spiritualists. But it wasn't a problem for Chen Zhao at all. He could even deal with little Larissa's extraordinary third night. He was more than 100 times stronger than before. So, he wasn't worried if he could deal with little Zhirlin's night of awakening. There are many special awakenings in history, and they all have a common characteristic. On the night of awakening, the attacks are much scarier than usual. The night of awakening of the Nirvanic, which is also one of the special awakenings. It's called the scariest night of awakening. 23rd looked at Chen Zhao. The night of awakening of the Nirvanic, which is also called the Nirvanic night. This might be the cruelest battle in your life. Actually, there are always 1 or 2 Nirvanic witches in every era. But only 3 have passed the Nirvanic night and survived. The other 2 aren't famous. They're powerful, but they haven't become famous. However, the most ancient Nirvanic, which has been heard of in the spiritual world. Her name is Lilith. How strong will the Nirvanic night be? Chen Zhao asked. Tell me everything. Chen Zhao was confident in his abilities. The 23rd generation also knew his own strength. But she still used such a cautious tone to warn him. This meant that the Nirvana night was not as simple as he had imagined. The Nirvana night, which awakens on the first night, is 100 times more terrifying than the awakening on the third night. Those 2 unknown Nirvana witches are the first night, and it is said that Lilith is the second night. Lilith is known as the evilest witch, not because she bewitched Cain to kill people in the Bible, but because she released the demons. The demons were released by her into the human world, and it was also because of her that Europe's Dark Age began. I heard that the witch Lilith seems to be the ancestor of the vampires. There are many legends about Lilith the witch, and there are also legends about her being a vampire. All these indicate the Europeans' hatred for Lilith. What happened to her? A crusade? Or was it sealed? Disappeared. The 23rd Blood Mary said. Blood Mary, the 23rd generation said. The mortal armies of that era were nothing but ants to her. And the church was still very weak back then. They didn't even have the right to face her, let alone attack her. The most powerful religions of that era were the Druids and Shamans, as well as some other random religions. The Druids and Shamans tried to attack Lilith many times, but they all failed. Even the church was able to develop and grow stronger, because the Shamans tried to attack Lilith many times, which angered Lilith, and she attacked the headquarters of the Shamans. At that time, the upper echelons of the Shamans suffered heavy losses, and the inheritance of advanced shaman magic was almost cut off. A large part of the shaman's sphere of influence at that time overlapped with the current sphere of influence of the church. After that battle, the shamans were almost wiped out, and the church replaced them. The 23rd generation Blood Mary paused for a moment before continuing. However, Lilith disappeared completely at some point in time. There was no information about a certain battle, nor was there any crusade. She just disappeared without a trace. Maybe she got tired of the conflict and went into seclusion? That woman was a terrifying existence that tried to turn the human world into hell. How could she get tired of conflict? Zhang Tianyi said. The Western magic system was learned from demons, and she was the first person to summon demons to the human world. So, it shouldn't be a problem to say that she's the founder of ancient magic. I don't want to admit it, but she started the Dark Ages of Europe and the modern history of magic in Europe. The 30 years that she existed was also the period when magic developed the fastest. Magic in that era developed in an explosive way, and almost all the embryonic forms of modern magic appeared in that era. Chen Zhao thought for a moment and said, "You guys seem to be talking about Lilith, but she doesn't seem to have anything to do with my daughter's Silent Night." It was supposed to be unrelated, but in the few notes or manuscripts left by the two Annihilation Witches after Lilith, it was recorded that they had met Lilith on the night of silent destruction. Seen her? Chen Zhao frowned. What do you mean by seen her? Literally, Blood Mary said. The 23rd generation Blood Mary said. Their notes didn't mention much about this. They only mentioned that they had met Lilith in the Silent Night. However, they didn't mention whether the so-called meeting was for a battle or some other purpose. The three Nirvana witches before your daughter lived in different eras. Let's talk about how the first Nirvana witch, or even the first witch, managed to live for so long, yet she showed up in the Night of Silence after the other two Nirvana witches. I'm afraid it wasn't because she wanted to see her descendant, so I think it's highly possible that she's up to no good. If you're prepared to help your daughter survive the Night of Silence, you have to be prepared to fight the first Nirvana witch, said Zhang Tianyi. Chen Zhao then looked at Blood Mary. What's the special characteristic of the so-called Nirvana spell? And how powerful is that demoness? Chapter 2306. The 23rd Blood Mary shook her head. There are no accurate records of Lilith's level. All the records of her battles are described as unbelievably powerful. Chen Zhao was the strongest person in history that Zhang Tianyi had acknowledged. Lilith was also the beginning of Western magic. It seemed like there would be an unavoidable battle. The 23rd Blood Mary could not provide Chen Zhao with more information. Do you need us to stay and help? Baifla asked. No, I can handle it. Chen Zhao shook his head. Chen Zhao, I'll arrange for your daughter's Night of Nirvana to be in the Desolate Bazaar, because I'm not sure how big it will be. If it's in the real world, there might be catastrophic consequences, Zhang Tianyi said. If it's in the Desolate Bazaar, there will also be catastrophic consequences, Chen Zhao said calmly. The Desolate Bazaar is already in ruins. The next trial won't be in the Desolate Bazaar either. Also, the mutants and spirits attracted by the Night of Nirvana might not be able to enter the Desolate Bazaar. This will also reduce the danger. Alright then. Chen Zhao didn't mind. For little Jerlin, this was also a good choice. The next day Clive and Ampa came to Mirror Lake Manor uneasily. Miss Feilai, Cliff and Ampa had come today mainly to apologize and check on Jerlin's condition. They had given the antidote to Feilai yesterday. However, a normal parent would not casually give an unknown liquid to their child. They were worried that Feilai's overcaution would cause something to happen to Jerlin. That was why they had come today to check on the situation. Mr. Clive, Ms. Ampa, why are you here? Miss Feilai, we're here to see Jerlin and apologize for our mistake. We shouldn't have left such a dangerous thing in the yard. Feilai also wanted to blame them, but she blamed herself more. If not for her mistake, Jerlin would not have eaten the void spirit grass by mistake. No one wanted this to happen, Feilai said. She didn't want to hold anyone responsible for this right now. This kind of thing was meaningless. Now, she only hoped that little Jerlin would be safe. How's little Jerlin? Clive asked. Something happened, Feilai said. My husband sent someone to take little Jerlin abroad for treatment. I heard there are experts in this field abroad. Miss Phelan, my husband studied medicine, Ampa said worriedly. Those plants are also medical, so Clive can treat patients who accidentally ate those plants. The medicine from yesterday can do it. Didn't you give it to Jerlin? She was worried that an ordinary hospital would find it difficult to cure the curse of the void spirit grass, no matter how good the medical conditions were. There's no need. Jerlin's father is also an expert in this field. He also studied medicine. He knows how to help Jerlin recover. But those plants are very rare, and their composition is very complicated. Even if a medical institution were to analyze them, it would take a long time, not to mention the preparation of an antidote. And Clive's antidote has already passed the test. It's safe and reliable, Ampa said hurriedly. Ampa, please believe what I'm feeling right now. I'm worried about my daughter too. We know what's best for little Jerlin. But, Ampa still wanted to say something, but Clive stopped him. Miss Phelan, if that's the case, we'll leave first. If you need any help with Jerlin's situation, you can contact us anytime. Okay. Phelan didn't ask them to stay as guests this time. It was impossible to say that she didn't feel a knot in her heart after something like this happened. Both sides had a certain degree of responsibility in this matter. So even if they could reconcile, that was something to worry about in the future. At least for now, both sides still had their concerns. Clive, can you calculate where little Jerlin is now? Ampa asked. I'll try. Clive walked on the road with his eyes closed, his fingers drawing in the air in front of him. After a while, Clive suddenly opened his eyes, surprise on his face. Little Jerlin is actually in Istanbul now. How is that possible? It hasn't even been 18 hours since it happened. LA is at least 10,000 kilometers away from Istanbul. How can she be so far away? Rich people can do it. In the end, the two could only come to this conclusion. Perhaps little Jerlin's parents had chartered a plane for her to go to Istanbul for medical treatment. No matter how good a normal doctor is, they can't cure little Jerlin, Clive said worriedly. Then what do we do now? Although the symptoms of the void spirit grass will make a person's soul leave their body, their bodily functions will be the same as a normal person's. Also, after 7 days, the problem will worsen. The soul might not be able to find its own body and wander. The body will lose consciousness forever and become a vegetable. Ampa was even more worried. Looks like we have to go to Istanbul, Clive said. The longer Jerlin's condition dragged on, the more dangerous it would be. So Clive's decision was very firm. Are the children coming too? Let's not bring them. Let them stay at home, Clive said. A trip to Istanbul wasn't cheap. If so many children went together, their credit cards would be maxed out. After all, it was a normal family. They couldn't be like Phelan's family. In order to send little Jerlin abroad for medical treatment, they chartered a plane. They still had to consider the financial aspect. Also, the children could basically live on their own. Even if there were 1 or 2 little ones, the parents would take care of them. It shouldn't be a problem. Also, they weren't going to play. It was probably just a round trip. The two returned home. After telling the children, they packed their luggage and rushed to the plane. They were in too much of a rush. The tickets they booked were also on the spot. Time was too tight. Thankfully, they arrived before the flight. After boarding the plane in a hurry, they both looked a bit tired. Taking a plane was also a very tiring thing. Even someone at Chen Zhao's level would feel tired on a plane, let alone others. After more than 10 hours of sailing, they finally arrived at Istanbul. In their tiredness, they didn't have time to appreciate the scenery along the way. They found a random hotel and checked in. Ampa, go sit over there. I'll finish the paperwork soon. Chapter 2307. Clive. Ampa, why are you here? Suddenly, a familiar voice came. Both Ampa and Clive turned their heads and looked in the direction of the voice. They found that it was their old friend Edgerson. Edgerson was a magic raw material supplier. Ampa was also a witch who liked to make strange magic potions. So she had more contact with Edgerson. Edgerson, why are you here? Are you here for a different reason than I am? Edgerson asked. What purpose do we have? Do you know? seeing Clive and Ampa's puzzled and surprised eyes. Ederson seemed to understand something. Aren't you? No, it's nothing. Both of their faces were filled with confusion. Ederson seemed to have something he didn't want to say out loud. Anyway, it's nice to see you here. Ederson came forward and hugged Clive and Ampa. Because of Ederson's appearance, Ampa and Clive temporarily gave up on the idea of returning to their rooms to rest. The three of them sat in the lounge area of the lobby and chatted. Did you and your wife come to Istanbul for a holiday? No, if we came out for a holiday, we would bring our children with us, and we would choose to go in the summer. Clive sighed. Ederson looked at Clive, and seemed to see the worry on both of their faces. Is it convenient to tell us? It's like this. The two of them explained the situation. Ederson patted Clive on the shoulder and said, You did make a mistake, and I'm proud of your courage to take responsibility. If there's anything you need me to do, just ask. But are you here for work? Or is there something else? Clive asked curiously. Of course, if it's not convenient to say, then don't. Actually, it's not a secret. Istanbul is holding a gathering of the supernatural world. It's a competition and a trial. It's called the Battle of the Holy Radiance, and it's for the title of 10 Holy Radiants. I'm one of the participants. Ederson, with your strength, you should be able to get this title easily, Cliff said. Ederson smiled bitterly and shook his head. How could it be that easy? I can only be considered below average here. There are many participants who are stronger and more outstanding than me. There are even many things that are beyond our imagination. For example, in the last trial, if you didn't see it with your own eyes, I'm afraid you wouldn't dare to imagine what happened. What happened? I don't know what exactly happened, but I heard that there were two spiritualists fighting. In the end, the entire trial ground was destroyed. Everyone was involved in the battle, and the final count was more than 200 people. How big is the trial ground? Cliff and Ampa were relatively ordinary members of the supernatural world. Apart from their respective areas of expertise, they weren't particularly outstanding in terms of combat. Usually, he would occasionally beat up a few evil spirits that were causing trouble. This was basically their limit. Above them, Ederson was considered to be on another level. Ederson was considered an elite. Once, when Cliff and Ampa were exorcising spirits, they encountered a powerful evil spirit that they couldn't fight against. They asked for help from their friends around them, but all they got were replies like, Sorry, I can't help. Only Ederson stepped forward bravely and easily dealt with that powerful evil spirit. From then on, they had a more intuitive impression of Ederson's strength, which was that he was powerful, extremely powerful. But in reality, there was still a certain gap between Ederson and a true expert. And in the supernatural world, there were also a few incomparably huge peaks that suppressed everyone and made people shrink back. So, with Cliff and Ampa's realm and position, they simply couldn't understand how terrifying those peak spiritualists were. The area of that trial ground is about the same size as Istanbul. That's practically a walking nuclear warhead, Cliff said in amazement. It was an existence he couldn't imagine. The strength of those true top-notch spiritualists is something you and I can't imagine. Ederson sighed. It was his first time participating in the Battle of the Holy Glory, and it was also the first time he felt so insignificant and insignificant. He never knew that there were so many experts and powerhouses in the supernatural world, even existences that made people feel despair. But fortunately, according to the official reply, the two parties who fought were not participants in the Battle of the Holy Glory. One of them was an ancient demon that had been sealed for more than 1,000 years, and the other was one of the most powerful spiritualists in the world. If I were to stand in the same arena with such a terrifying opponent, I'm afraid I would immediately feel despair. By the way, are there many spiritualists in Istanbul? Cliff suddenly asked, changing the topic. There are quite a lot. Just the participants in the Battle of the Holy Glory alone might number in the thousands. There are also other spiritualists, probably more than 10,000. That many? Cliff frowned, his expression a little ugly. What's wrong? I previously divined that the little girl was sent to Istanbul, but I don't know the exact location. If the little girl was in an ordinary city, there would at most be a few or dozens of spiritualists. My divination magic could barely delineate a rough location, but with so many spiritualists, my divination magic would definitely be interfered with. Not to mention divining that little girl. Even divining my current location would be difficult. Most of the time, divination magic used certain tools to use the divination target as a signal receiving station, and then determine the location of the divination target. Every spiritualist was like a magnet. It was very easy for them to attract certain supernatural forces. Of course, this also included the guidance of such divination information. If it was in an area with a low density of spiritualists, such divination could be done accurately, or more accurately. But in the current Istanbul, it was very likely that one could encounter a few spiritualists fighting just by going out for a walk. This caused Cliff's divination to be almost unable to accurately determine the location. If he forcefully divined, even if he determined a location, perhaps when he found the place, he would find a few spiritualists playing landlord. Moreover, Cliff could only be said to know divination, but he was not proficient in it. If he gave up on magic divination to find the person, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack for the couple. I'll help you contact a professional fortune teller, Ajerson said. Chapter 2308. They rested for the whole night. Clive and Amber both recovered a lot of energy. Ajerson knocked on the door too. After Clive opened the door, he saw a gypsy woman wearing a red veil beside Ajerson. She's Li Pan, the fortune teller I found for you. Hello. Li Pan couldn't see her face clearly, but she could roughly tell that she wasn't very old. Her graceful and sexy figure, coupled with the mysterious veil, gave her a hazy sense of beauty. Please come in. Ajerson and Li Pan entered the room. Li Pan went straight to the point. Hi, who do you want me to tell for you? Let me be clear. My divination spell is a small medium-range search spell. If it goes beyond the city, the effect will be lower. The larger the range, the lower the accuracy. It's best for finding people. If you're looking for something, the effect will be greatly reduced, but the price won't be reduced. The more powerful you are, the harder it is to tell. How much do you charge for finding people? I'll use my magic power as the standard. For every 20% of my magic power, I'll charge $500 more. The price is okay, but are you sure you can find them? There's no way my magic can't find someone, unless that person's magic level is 10 times higher than mine. She's just a little girl, and she hasn't learned any spells. An ordinary person? I can guarantee that I can find them. Sure. I can also accept your price. The more information you can provide, the easier it'll be for me. You can also save money. It'll be best if you have her personal items. Her name is Jerlin. I think her Chinese name is Chen Jerlin. She's Chinese and American. She's 2 years old. Her father is Chinese, and her mother is American. This information wasn't a secret. After all, Clive also lived in Mountain Town. Basically everyone in Mountain Town knew about Chen Zhao's family. His school in Mountain Town was even trying to enroll Chen Zhao's children. After all, with Chen Zhao's generosity, he would definitely donate a lot of money to the school. Is there any more information? Her father should be beside her. He's from China, Chen Zhao. Anything else? No. Okay, I'll try searching. Li Pan's divination method was very special. It wasn't the kind of divination that required a crystal ball. Instead, he spread out a map of Istanbul, then pricked his finger and dripped a drop of blood. Under Li Pan's control, the drop of blood slowly moved across the map. A clear red trail was drawn on the map. However, when the blood moved to a certain area, it stopped. Clive turned to Li Pan. Is the person we're looking for here? No, there is a very powerful existence in this area. Powerful enough to reject all divination and divination, Li Pan helplessly said. And to be able to use their own mana to cover the entire area without leaving a single gap. I'm afraid there are only a few people capable of this. Then there's no way to divine it. Of course, I'm a professional in this field. Li Pan clearly felt that in her field of expertise, she would not allow others to look down on her. Since this path isn't going to work, let's change directions. Li Pan used the same method to begin the second round of divination, But this time the location of the drop of blood was different from the first. However, the drop of blood once again moved to the periphery of the area and stopped moving. The girl you're looking for is in this area, but because there is a sect master level existence in that area, he has completely covered the entire area with his mana, so I can't accurately determine her location. This area is so big, how are we going to find her? This shouldn't be part of our deal. Don't worry, I can use another method, Li Pan said. Do you have any other magic? That's not difficult at all, Li Pan confidently said. At the same time, he took out his phone and dialed a number. Hey Taylor, did you miss me? Do me a favor and help me investigate the guest list of the Istanbul hotel. It's a Chinese Chunjiao. Following that, Li Pan hung up. Clive and Amber looked at Li Pan in a daze. What did you just do? Although the area can't be narrowed down, there's only one hotel in that area, the Istanbul Hotel. He's a foreigner, so of course he's staying in the Istanbul Hotel. I have some friends who are also very good at finding people. But you're a fortune teller. As long as I can find the person, it doesn't matter how I find him. Li Pan rolled his eyes. Just then, Li Pan received a message on her phone. Found it, Li Pan said. Li Pan had never been an inflexible person, especially in this era. If she held on to old ideas, she would only starve to death. So, she happily accepted the $1,000. Clive and Amber also received the exact address. The two discussed and decided to find Jerlin immediately. Nothing happened on the first night. Chen Zhao didn't know whether to be happy or worried. Even the legendary first witch Lilith was only on the second night. Jerlin's future achievements might not be below Lilith's. At least if she was interested in magic, Chen Zhao wouldn't reject her becoming a witch. Of course, that would be when she had a complete worldview. Just then, Baifla passed through the wall. Chen Zhao looked up at Baifla. You should go through the front door. Inconvenient, Baifla said indifferently. He was used to entering Chen Zhao's room this way. Baifla glanced at Jerlin, who was sleeping soundly on the bed. Your daughter is really extraordinary. It's a pity I don't know Nirvana. If I did, I'd definitely take her in as a disciple. You won't be able to teach her magic. Your magic really doesn't suit other people, especially your daughter. Baifla's words reminded Chen Zhao. Even if Jerlin wanted to learn Nirvana in the future, he wouldn't be able to teach her. This was a huge problem. From the 23rd Blood Mary's words, Chen Zhao knew that Nirvana witches could only learn Nirvana. They couldn't learn other spells. Just like India, she could only use scarlet magic. There wouldn't be a second Nirvana witch in the world. Not to mention becoming Jerlin's teacher. Oh, when I went to your house yesterday, I saw that your daughter's talent is also very outstanding. She seems to have awakened, right? When did she awaken? The day she was born, the third night, Chen Zhao said proudly. Chapter 2309. I've seen a third night awaken before. Her talent is more outstanding than any third night awakened I've ever seen. She's a flawless piece of unpolished jade, Baifla complimented without holding back. My daughter had a special night of awakening. The day she was born was the night of awakening. Coincidentally, the biggest tropical storm hit the west coast of America. At the same time, the superstorm blew the scariest thing from the sea up. Awakening at birth? That's an unprecedented talent, Baifla said. Is a third night special awakening rare? It's already 1 in a million, and it's a special awakening, Baifla said. Also, the earlier they awaken, the better their talent. No one has ever awakened on the day they were born. So my bloodline is the most outstanding. I can't deny that. How about letting your daughter become my student? No way. Don't tell me you want to take my daughter's body. I've already chosen my 5th substitute. I don't need another one. Plus, I can only take a male's body. No. Chen Zhao didn't want his daughter to learn magic from someone who could take his disciple's body. He had too many choices to learn magic. He could ask Zhang Tianyi or Blood Mary, the 23rd generation. At the very least, he could ask his daughter to learn holy light magic from John Sr. That was also an option. As for rejecting, Chen Zhao had never thought about that. His face was so big. They wouldn't reject him. Baifla didn't expect Chen Zhao to agree immediately. He didn't continue asking. Huh. Bifla snorted. What's wrong? Someone's using magic to detect this place. There are so many spiritualists in Istanbul. What's so strange about someone using a detection spell? It's not strange, but after sensing my territory for the first time, the spiritualist who still doesn't know how to restrain himself doesn't know what's good for him. He's still using magic to test me. Do you think that's offensive? Chen Zhao didn't feel anything about it. There's an unwritten rule in the supernatural world. If perception magic or detection magic detects another spiritualist for the first time, and it's not considered a search target, they can't probe the second time. If they do, it'll be a sign of hostility. Are you sure she's hostile towards you? It has nothing to do with hostility. If she doesn't know I'm here the first time, I can forgive her. But the second time, she knows I'm here and still does what she wants. That's a provocation. Chen Zhao felt that Bifla's explanation was a bit forced. Bifla glanced at him. Do you think I'm making a mountain out of a molehill? A little. The spiritualist who tested me with a spell should be a rare moonlight witch. Moonlight witch? Moonlight witch? What breed is it? Chen Zhao looked at Bifla curiously. The moonlight witches absorb the essence of the moonlight. However, when the dark clouds cover the moonlight, they themselves become a source of light similar to the moon, attracting other creatures to come closer. Is there any use for it? Many spirits and magical creatures are attracted to moonlight, Bifla said. And the moonlight witches can temporarily give spirits a physical body. Chen Zhao frowned. What a strange characteristic. Gaining a physical body also means that they can be physically attacked. Bifla gave Chen Zhao a meaningful look. Chen Zhao raised an eyebrow. What do you want to say? On the night of awakening, no matter what kind of attack it is, the assailants all have one thing in common, and that is that they mainly use spirit bodies. You just happen to be a physical attacker, Bifla said. Chen Zhao thought about it and realized that it made sense. He also had methods to attack spirit bodies, but most of the time, he would use fist shadows imbued with magic power to attack, or use holy light cannons to bombard. Although the effect was obvious, his most powerful ability couldn't be used. The fist shadows and holy light cannons were quite effective against ordinary spirit bodies. But if it was used to deal with a powerful spiritual body, the effect would be much weaker. If the opponent was the same level as him, or if the opponent was a level weaker, then it would have almost no effect. Under normal circumstances, Chen Zhao wouldn't bother to cause trouble for such a purpose. But it was different this time. Chen Zhao would be facing Nirvana Knight, which he didn't know how strong it was. From the 23rd Blood Mary's tone, Chen Zhao could hear caution and seriousness. Chen Zhao couldn't underestimate this. Plus, his success or failure concerned his daughter's safety. Do you know where the Moonlight Witch is? When she used the detection spell, I left a mark on her. Tell me where she is. I'll go there myself, Chen Zhao said. About 25 kilometers from here. She's also in a hotel. It's a gypsy woman. Help me look after Jerlin. I'll go there, Bifla said. After Bifla gave him the exact location, Chen Zhao left. Bifla stayed behind to look after Jerlin. I suddenly have a bad feeling, Li Pan said, frowning. A really bad feeling. What's wrong? Ederson asked. I don't know, but I feel like something really dangerous is approaching. Li Pan had just earned $1,000 and was quite happy. Now his good mood was gone. Then let's leave immediately. They were both spiritualists. Avoiding danger was a common trait among spiritualists. Ordinary people might turn a blind eye to this feeling, but they really believed in this sudden feeling. The two reached the hotel parking lot and quickly found their car. But before they could start the car, a person appeared in front of them without any warning. It was an Asian, well-dressed and wearing a faint smile. Get out, Chen Zhao said emotionlessly, looking at the two in the car. Li Pan and Ederson immediately understood that the Asian standing in front of the car was the danger Li Pan felt. Without any hesitation, Ederson stepped on the accelerator and drove toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao pressed one hand on the hood, and the car immediately froze in place. It couldn't move. Ederson tried to reverse and get out of Chen Zhao's control, but the car still couldn't move forward or backward. Enhancer. Ederson and Li Pan raised their eyebrows. Since they couldn't leave, they could only get out. Ederson looked at Chen Zhao cautiously. Kid, don't look for trouble. I'm best at dealing with enhancers like you. 9 Heavens Divine King. Chapter 2310. Ignoring Ederson's provocation, Chen Zhao stared at Li Pan. You're the Moonlight Witch? Chen Zhao asked. Humph. Seeing that Chen Zhao was ignoring him, Ederson attacked Chen Zhao directly. Ederson waved his hands. Halo of Weakness. A red halo appeared around Chen Zhao and quickly shrank toward the center. The next moment, the halo of weakness had completely bound Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao glanced at Ederson out of the corner of his eye. Are you serious? Ederson sneered. He was about to tell Chen Zhao the function of the halo of weakness. But when Chen Zhao spread his arms, the ring of weakness snapped. The words that Ederson was about to say were stuck in his throat. He couldn't say them anymore. If you're using this spell as a hula hoop, I suggest you make it bigger next time. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, Ederson was so angry that his veins bulged. You forced me to do this. Ederson roared and raised his palms. Chen Zhao's surroundings seemed to be enveloped by something. Chen Zhao frowned. He grabbed the hood and lifted the entire car. Then he swung it at Ederson. Bang! Ederson was sent flying. He crashed into the car door, his entire body embedded in it. Ederson! Li Pan exclaimed. At the same time, he looked at Chen Zhao angrily. Congratulations, you've successfully angered me. I'm here to hire you. Of course, that's under normal circumstances. If you try to attack me, you'll lose your payment. I won't accept an enemy's employment. Li Pan glared at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao tossed the car to the side. Before you attack, you can still ask for the payment you want. After I break your arms and legs, I'll consider accepting your payment, Li Pan shouted. Lunar Eclipse. Shadow Hand. A huge shadow suddenly appeared on the ceiling of the garage. An ink-black hand reached out and grabbed at Chen Zhao. However, Chen Zhao merely waved his hand, and the shadow hand shattered like a mirror. The pieces flew everywhere. Don't use such a boring move, Chen Zhao said indifferently. How about you listen to the payment I'm willing to pay first? The more casual Chen Zhao was, the angrier Li Pan became. It was as if all her hatred was not worth mentioning in the eyes of the man in front of her. Crescent moon, arrow of light and shadow. Li Pan's body assumed the posture of drawing a bow, and lightly released the fingers of her right hand. An arrow flickered in the light and shadow, and shot toward Chen Zhao. However, when the arrow was less than half an inch away from Chen Zhao, it suddenly exploded like a dazzling firework. Chen Zhao was stunned, and so was Li Pan. Very beautiful. Chen Zhao wasn't mocking Li Pan. He truly felt it. She was really beautiful. But to Li Pan, it sounded extremely sarcastic. This move of hers was an extremely penetrative and lethal magic attack. But the result was unacceptable to her. What was this? His attack actually turned into fireworks. You forced me to do this, moon-waxing destroyer wolf. Li Pan shouted. Above her head, a bright moon several meters in diameter appeared. This bright moon was actually just a flat surface, or rather an exit. And within the bright moon, a claw stretched out from within. It was a wolf claw. A giant wolf was trying to crawl out of the moon. Chen Zhao grabbed the car beside him and threw it at the wolf. The car hit the giant wolf. The wolf whimpered and disappeared into the moon. Destroyer wolf? Was that the destroyer wolf Fenrir in Norse legends? Don't be ridiculous. Can that thing destroy the world? Even a car on the street can kill it. Can that thing destroy the world? Li Pan's face was red. Of course, what she had just summoned wasn't a destroyer wolf. She didn't have the ability to summon the real Fenrir into the real world. But the wolf she had just summoned wasn't an ordinary wolf either. It was a member of a group of demon wolves that worshipped Fenrir. But after being hit by Chen Zhao, it probably wouldn't survive. Chen Zhao didn't want to hurt Li Pan. After all, he needed her to work for him. But when Chen Zhao had thrown the car, he had used a lot of strength. The thing with the destroyer wolf on its head couldn't be any more dead. Suddenly, a golden awl attacked Chen Zhao's back. It was a Jerson who had attacked Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao had hit him with the car. But he didn't really want to kill him. So a Jerson quickly woke up, but he was still secretly observing the situation. While Chen Zhao's attention was on Li Pan, he had attacked Chen Zhao from behind. The gold and all he had used was called the Dragon Slayer gold. It was a weapon specially forged to penetrate dragon scales. Since it could penetrate dragon scales, its penetrative power couldn't be underestimated. Moreover, it had a magic shield. Basically, as long as the Dragon Slayer gold touched someone, the shield would collapse instantly. If the Dragon Slayer gold had hit Chen Zhao, his body might really have been penetrated. But before he attacked, Chen Zhao's shadow I had already seen all of Ajersan's actions. Chen Zhao's left hand reached behind him, and Ajersan's arm was caught. Chen Zhao took the Dragon Slayer gold from Ajersan's hand and played with it. It's really sharp. But very quickly, Chen Zhao crushed the good thing in his mouth into a ball with one hand. Ajersan and Li Pan's expressions became even worse. This Asian man's strength was too terrifying. Crushing the Dragon Slayer gold with his bare hands? The Dragon Slayer gold was specialized in breaking all kinds of magic shields. The magic it contained had always been able to break through other people's defenses. No one had ever heard of anyone being able to crush it into scrap metal with their bare hands. Sink in the swamp forever. Ajersan immediately used his ultimate move. The concrete ground under Chen Zhao's feet suddenly turned into a swamp. The surrounding cars started sinking into the swamp. Anything that touched the swamp, regardless of whether it was dead or alive, couldn't resist the swamp's devouring. But if one could fly, then this spell would become useless. Coincidentally, Chen Zhao knew how to fly. But Ajersan and Li Pan seemed to have expected Chen Zhao to fly. At this time, Li Pan also took action. She loudly shouted, "Full moon! Magic forbidden zone!" Instantly, all the spiritual qi in the air was absorbed by Li Pan's magic. Chen Zhao's body lost balance, and he fell into the swamp uncontrollably. Li Pan's spell could instantly make all the spiritual qi in a certain range disappear. So most spells couldn't be cast. Even if spells could be cast, they couldn't be released because there was no spiritual qi in the air. So it became a magic forbidden zone. Chapter 23:11. Chen Zhao looked at his hands. He could feel that the surrounding spiritual qi had completely disappeared. "How big is your forbidden zone?" Chen Zhao asked. "It's enough to trap you inside," Li Pan said coldly. "Not enough." Chen Zhao shook his head, smiling. Really?" Ajersan stood outside the forbidden magic zone. His palms crossed together, and a yellow magic ball condensed between his palms. Chen Zhao looked at Ajersan. "This forbidden zone shouldn't have the flight path of your spell, right?" Ajersan didn't answer. Instead, he used his actions to show his intentions. The magic ball indeed couldn't maintain its flight path in the forbidden zone. But if it was a solid magic ball, it wouldn't be affected. Ajersan pushed his palms forward. The solid earth elemental magic ball shot toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao raised his hand to block it. The magic ball exploded in his palm. That's it. As soon as Chen Zhao finished speaking, he saw his palm and arm petrify. Petrification. Chen Zhao had been attacked by petrification spells before. Even in the supernatural organization, there were people who could use petrification spells. Petrification was rare, but it wasn't a very rare type of spell. Chen Zhao clenched his fists, and his muscles exerted force. Instantly, the stone layer on his skin cracked. Petrification didn't completely petrify a creature. Instead, it petrified the creature's skin. When Chen Zhao was hit by the spell, the skin on his arm was petrified. But this didn't affect Chen Zhao's strength. Moreover, petrification could be dispelled by his own mana. Of course, there was a prerequisite. That was he had to have enough mana. Petrification was actually earth elemental invading the body. Then it would assimilate the body. You could think of earth elemental as poison. If a spiritualist was poisoned, without antidotes or other treatment methods, they would need a large amount of mana to dispel the poison. Earth elemental was like this, but it was more troublesome than most poisons. "Good teamwork," Chen Zhao said as he patted off the petrified skin on his arm. "Do you still have mana?" Li Pan asked confidently. She'd already used her trump card and trapped Chen Zhao in the forbidden zone. Then, Ajersan used petrification to waste Chen Zhao's mana. Moreover, one couldn't recover in the forbidden zone. With Ajersan's cooperation, she was confident that no one could defeat them. "Are you ready?" Ajerson was already preparing an even bigger and scarier petrification spell. It condensed into a huge petrification sphere before him. But the next moment, Ajerson and Li Pan's expressions changed. This was because they all felt a large amount of spiritual energy surging towards the magic forbidden zone. Li Pan! Ajerson yelled. I know. Li Pan didn't understand what was going on either. Her forbidden magic zone was still in effect, but the surrounding spiritual energy was surging into the forbidden magic zone. One must know that the greatest characteristic of this magic forbidden zone was that it could prevent the surrounding spiritual energy from entering for a short period of time. If she couldn't do this, then no matter how much she absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy, there would always be spiritual energy from the outside to replenish it. In that case, this magic forbidden zone would be meaningless. But now something unexpected had happened. The heaven and earth spiritual energy in the periphery seemed to be on a rampage as it continuously attacked the magic forbidden zone. Ajerson, hurry up, I can't hold on for much longer. Li Pan's body was trembling. She had never had such a hard time maintaining a forbidden area. Ajerson didn't dare to waste any more time. He cast a huge petrification spell at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao wouldn't let him succeed so easily this time. He casually punched. The shadow of a fist shattered the petrification spell. At the same time, a large amount of earth elements flew back at Ajerson. Ajerson and Li Pan turned pale with fright. No matter how they thought about it, they couldn't understand how Chen Zhao could still release such an attack in the magic forbidden zone. In fact, Chen Zhao's fist wasn't a magical attack. It was purely a physical one. He used his strength and speed to compress the air and create a strong pressure. Ajerson couldn't dodge the earth element in time and was hit by the one he had released. Instantly, Ajerson's skin turned to stone. Ajerson! Li Pan was shocked. Let me see how big your magic forbidden zone is. Otherwise, I'll blast him to smithereens right now. Li Pan gritted her teeth. She'd never met an opponent like Chen Zhao. He was such a difficult opponent. In the past, when she and Ajerson worked together, they'd always been successful. But this time, when they worked together against Chen Zhao, they were actually suppressed to the point of despair. What do you want? Li Pan growled. Her eyes were filled with hatred. I told you, I want to hire you. Hire me for what? You're so much stronger than me. I don't think there's anything I can help you with. My daughter is about to awaken, and I specialize in physical attacks, so I need your moonlight magic. Li Pan raised an eyebrow. She immediately understood. I see. When? Tonight or tomorrow night, Chen Zhao said. It had already been a night. Zhilin's awakening would either be tonight or tomorrow night. My fee isn't low, and it's such a dangerous operation. How's his life? Is it enough? Chen Zhao asked calmly. Aren't you afraid that I'll ambush you on the night of awakening? Li Pan felt that she had something on Chen Zhao. Then you better pray that I die on the night of awakening, Chen Zhao said. Plus, I already reminded you that I came to find you with sincerity. Unfortunately, you rejected my kindness. I can do it tonight, but not tomorrow, because the third trial starts tomorrow. You won't be eliminated, Chen Zhao said. I have a way to let you advance directly. Li Pan didn't believe Chen Zhao. Her face was filled with mockery. The battle for the holy glory is very important to me. I can't give it up for you. I've said it before. I can let you pass the next round of the trial. Unless you prove it to me first, I won't believe you. I'm not negotiating with you, Chen Zhao said impatiently. You can kill me, but I won't compromise. Seeing Li Pan's determined gaze, Chen Zhao took a deep breath and took out his phone. Old Zhang, I hope that one participant can advance directly in the next trial. Impossible. I'm not negotiating with you, Chen Zhao said, annoyed. I need someone to advance directly. Give me a reason. Chapter 23:12. Chen Zhao felt like he didn't have enough face. I hired a participant, Chen Zhao said. But she doesn't want to give up the trial. It's not your team? Of course not me. Am I that kind of person? Why did you hire that participant? I heard from Bifla that she's a moonlight witch. I understand. Okay, I agree, Zhang Tianyi said. At first, Zhang Tianyi thought that Chen Zhao wanted to get a spot for his team member. This was against the principle of fairness. Zhang Tianyi couldn't agree to such a request. But after hearing Chen Zhao mention the Moonlight Witch, Zhang Tianyi found it more acceptable. After all, it was much more dangerous to be hired by Chen Zhao than the third trial. Of course, one of the important reasons was that Chen Zhao was the one who made the request. If it was someone else, Zhang Tianyi would probably slap the person's face. This meant that Chen Zhao was shameless enough. Even though Chen Zhao called Zhang Tianyi, but Li Pan still didn't believe Chen Zhao. To her, Chen Zhao just found someone to put on a show. If you can really help me pass the third trial, then I'll agree to hire you, Li Pan said. Also, I don't want my teammates to be hurt. Sure, Chen Zhao said. You'll receive the official notice of the battle. Then, Chen Zhao walked to a Jerson and grabbed her petrified shoulder. Soon a Jerson's petrified shell cracked. A Jerson collapsed onto the ground weakly. Ampa and Clive arrived outside Chen Zhao's guest room. They first looked around the corridor. Ampa, check if there's anyone inside, Clive said. There's a soft breathing, but it's very smooth. It should be Jerlin's. There's no one else. Just little Jerlin? Clive's face was full of doubt. Her father is really irresponsible. That being said, it saved them a lot of trouble. Clive cast a spell on the doorknob like a thief. Crack! The door was unlocked and the two quickly entered the room. The luxury of this suite made the two of them a little dazed. However, the two of them soon found little Jerlin on the bed. Ampa took out the magic potion he'd prepared. But before Ampa could feed the magic potion to little Jerlin, suddenly, the two of them lost control and crashed into the wall behind them. Then they realized that their bodies were slowly sinking into the wall. What's going on? What the hell is going on? The two of them cried out in panic. At this moment, a person slowly appeared on the opposite wall. The two glanced at each other, shock written all their faces. Who is it? Ampa Bifla strolled to the couple. Who sent you? Bifla asked calmly. No one sent us. Who are you? I'm the one interrogating you right now, so you don't have the right to ask questions, Bifla said calmly. Who sent you to harm her? We never intended to hurt little Jerlin. It's useless for you to quibble. I advise you to tell me the truth. Otherwise, I can't guarantee what I'll do. Tt. Chin just teat. At this moment the door opened. Chen Zhao returned and saw Bifla. At the same time, he saw two human faces on the wall in front of Bifla. Chen Zhao looked at the three in shock. Chen Zhao didn't immediately recognize Cliff, who was embedded in the wall. However, Clive recognized him at first glance. Mr. Chen, it's me. I'm Clive. Clive? Chen Zhao didn't react immediately. Who was Clive? Gradually, Chen Zhao recalled that he'd met Clive once before. When he and Dadaira went to the supermarket, Cliff led a group of children. There was a brief exchange between the two. Later on, little Jerlin accidentally ate the void spirit herb at Clive's house, which caused her to fall into a deep sleep and awaken. Bifla released them. The two of them were immediately spat out by the wall. Yes, they were spat out. Mr. Cliff, why are you here? Clive was a little embarrassed and a little ashamed. Jerlin accidentally ate the void spirit herb because of us. We heard that you brought her to Istanbul, so we wanted to make up for our mistake. Mr. Cliff, this isn't anyone's fault, so don't take it to heart. Chen Zhao would be lying if he said that he didn't blame Clive for what happened to little Jerlin. But at least he didn't lose his mind and wouldn't blame Clive for everything. He didn't plan on pursuing Clive's mistake either. No matter what, Clive didn't have any bad intentions. Ampa looked at everyone, and then at little Jerlin. Mr. Chen, are you a spiritualist too? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Then you should know little Jerlin's symptoms, right? But I see that she's still unconscious. If it's hard to get the antidote, we can provide it. No need. Jerlin's main problem isn't because of you. Her accidental eating of the void spirit herb was just the cause. She's awakening now. Awakening? Ampa and Clive both raised their eyebrows. They'd never heard of anyone awakening at such a young age. If that's the case, we're even more duty-bound, Ampa said. Ampa said, we hope to be of some help on the night of little Jerlin's awakening. Thank you for your kindness, but there's no need. Chen Zhao shook his head. But one more person's strength means one more insurance for little Jerlin's safety. You can't help. Although we aren't that strong, we can still help out a little. Bifla sneered. You don't even understand little Jerlin's current situation? She's not an ordinary awakening. There's a difference between ordinary and ordinary awakenings. Mr. Cliff, you really can't help, Chen Zhao said, rubbing his forehead. We know a few spiritualists. We can help little Jerlin find more helpers. Mr. Cliff, I said that there's no need. Chen Zhao's tone became heavier. Mr. Chen, we really want to help. If there's a need, I'll find you, but there's no need for that now. To Cliff and Ampa, awakening was very risky, especially since it wasn't Jerlin's first night of awakening. Especially since it was obviously not Jerlin's first night of awakening, the risk was even greater. Although Chen Zhao had a powerful spiritualist with him, they still felt that it couldn't guarantee Jerlin's safety. Chapter 23:13. Cliff and Amber really wanted to stay and help. But Chen Zhao still had that unapproachable attitude. This made them very disappointed. They really wanted to do something for little Jerlin, even if it was an insignificant amount. The two glanced at each other and made up their minds. On the night of awakening, they would attack regardless of whether Chen Zhao agreed or not. After Cliff and Amber left, Chen Zhao also started preparing. He wasn't sure if Jerlin's night of nirvana would be tonight or tomorrow night. Ederson suddenly jumped up and realized that he was lying on the bed. Li Pan and a few other teammates were in the room. Li Pan, where's that guy? Gone, Li Pan said. We lost. Ederson vaguely remembered the last scene. Li Pan nodded. We lost badly. Li Pan, Ederson, who did you guys meet? One of the teammates asked. A very powerful guy. Li Pan and I couldn't beat him even when we worked together. Li Pan used all his trump cards, a teammate asked. Their team was put together at the last minute, but they were familiar with each other and knew about Li Pan's trump cards. Plus, Li Pan had used the magic forbidden zone once before. They still remembered Li Pan's magic forbidden zone. They really couldn't imagine who could beat Li Pan when he used his trump cards. And Ederson had teamed up. An enhancer, Li Pan said. There was an enhancer in their team. Hearing Li Pan's words, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Oh, enhancer? I want to meet him and take revenge for you guys. The other teammates also rubbed their palms, as if they were ready to go all out. Just then Li Pan's phone rang. Your name is Li Pan? Moonlight Witch. An old and slightly hoarse voice came from the other end. Moreover, his tone had a hint of arrogance to it, making Li Pan feel very uncomfortable. Who are you? Zhang Tianyi. Zhang Tianyi? Celestial Master Zhang? Ha! You think you're Celestial Master Zhang, just because you say so? Junior, you don't know your place. Be careful of divine punishment. I can't be bothered with you. Li Pan didn't believe that it was Zhang Tianyi on the other end of the phone. Therefore, she directly hung up the phone, not intending to continue the conversation. Li Pan, who called? A person who claims to be Celestial Master Zhang, Li Pan said. Are there still scammers in the Battle of Holy Glory? And he even dared to use Celestial Master Zhang's name to swindle people? Isn't he a little too daring? Truly daring, Li Pan nodded. She and her teammates didn't believe that Zhang Tianshi would call Li Pan, who wasn't even related to him. Li Pan, your head. What's wrong with my head? Li Pan raised her head in confusion, and in that instant, she saw a dark cloud gathering above her head. The others were also puzzled and confused. They were indoors, so where did the dark clouds come from? In the next moment, lightning flashed and thunder roared in this small patch of dark clouds. If the person's power was a bit stronger, if the person attacked her in her sleep, she would probably be half dead, even if she didn't die. Li Pan thought even more. Could it be that the man was telling the truth? Had she really advanced because of his phone call? If it was true, not only was that guy powerful, but his background and influence were also frighteningly great. Li Pan glanced at the dark clouds above her head and turned to the others. I need to go out. Is it related to Celestial Master Zhang? After a moment of hesitation, Li Pan nodded. Then go. Everyone felt that Celestial Master Zhang, had given Li Pan some secret mission. They were somewhat envious and jealous of Li Pan. With a lot on her mind, Li Pan went to the address that Chen Zhao had given her. Chapter 23:14. In the evening, Li Pan found Chen Zhao in a restaurant. Chen Zhao was eating with Bifla in the restaurant. Bifla only glanced up at Li Pan before continuing to enjoy his food. "Is it dinner? Sit down and eat," Chen Zhao said, pulling out a chair. Li Pan took a deep breath and suppressed her anger. If she could beat Chen Zhao, she really wanted to flip the table. In the end, Li Pan still sat down. "Waiter, add another set of cutlery," Chen Zhao ordered. "There's nothing on this table that suits my taste. Give this lady another menu." Li Pan glanced at the menu and shuddered. The cheapest item on the menu was almost 2,000 new Turkish lira. New Turkish lira was Turkey's currency. The exchange rate was about 1 o'clock. 8 compared to RMB. "You're paying, right?" Li Pan asked, looking at Chen Zhao. "Help yourself. It's my treat." Hearing this, Li Pan calmed down. So she ordered the most expensive item as revenge. After Li Pan ordered, the waiter looked at Li Pan with a strange expression. At the same time, he looked at Chen Zhao. "Sir, this lady ordered 86,500 new Turkish lira." "Got it." Chen Zhao waved his hand. Chen Zhao glanced at Li Pan. "I don't mind how much you ordered, but you better finish it. I don't like to waste food." Li Pan snorted softly, but she was also thinking that she really ordered too much. After eating and drinking, Li Pan followed behind Chen Zhao and Bifla, as if she was pregnant for 10 months. "This restaurant's not bad. It's so-so." Chen Zhao shrugged. "I have a restaurant in LA. Next time, I'll treat you to my restaurant." "Sure. If you come to Central Asia, I'll treat you. I have a lot of meat from magical creatures. Coincidentally, I also have a hobby in this area. Many magical creatures that I killed became my food reserves." "Then next time let's talk more about this," Bifla said. Li Pan followed behind the two of them, his thoughts already wandering to the horizon. "It's almost 7, Bifla said. "If your daughter awakens tonight, it should be about time now." Chen Zhao checked the time, but there's no sign at all. Although they were both in the restaurant, their domains covered the entire hotel. It could be said that every move of everyone in the hotel was under their surveillance. It was no different from accompanying little Jerlin. However, the night was still calm and peaceful. Not even a single evil spirit appeared. "The second night. You have to pay more for the second night," Li Pan said. Chen Zhao looked back at Li Pan and Bifla as well. Then he said indifferently, "It's not the second night, it's the third." Li Pan's face immediately turned red. "The third day?" Li Pan raised his voice. "Are you crazy? You want me to help you face the third day?" "I'm not asking you to face it," Chen Zhao said calmly. "I'm just asking you to assist. I don't care, you have to pay more. Otherwise I'll kill your friends and family." "You," Li Pan's chest heaved in anger. She gritted her teeth and glared at Chen Zhao. "I was going to give you a reward, but you rejected me and even attacked me." Li Pan felt regret and heartache. After all, she'd noticed that Chen Zhao was rich. No, more accurately, he was very rich. When Chen Zhao paid the bill just now, he'd used a black card. Li Pan didn't have money, but she'd heard rumors about the black card. If she hadn't rejected him so decisively, she might have been able to get a huge reward. It was a calm night. There were no conflicts or cruelty. The whole of Istanbul was so peaceful. The next day, there was a knock on Li Pan's door. Li Pan opened the door in annoyance and saw Chen Zhao standing outside. What? Women who'd just woken up were all the same. Usually, she looked very exquisite. In fact, when she'd just woken up, she was also full of sleepiness and gave off a lazy aura. Li Pan was the same. Her hair was messy and she kept yawning. Her eyes were filled with laziness and sleepiness. "Get ready. We're going to the venue for the Night of Awakening tonight." "So early?" Li Pan was very unhappy. "It's only morning." Usually, Chen Zhao liked to sleep in and wake up naturally. Most of the time, he wouldn't arrange his work in the morning. But it was different this time. The time wasn't up to Chen Zhao to decide. Chen Zhao had to prepare beforehand. "Don't waste time. I'll give you half an hour to wash up and prepare." Come to my room in half an hour. Li Pan ran to the bathroom cursing. She was unhappy, but she couldn't ignore Chen Zhao's threat. Half an hour later, Li Pan finally came to Chen Zhao's room. For a woman, half an hour was too little to prepare. Chen Zhao carried Jerlin in his arms. Little Jerlin had been sleeping like this for 3 days. Your daughter is so young. What's so strange about that? How old do you think my daughter should be? She's already a third night awakener at such a young age? Li Pan felt like she'd wasted her life. She'd awakened at 15, and awakened on the second night. But this little girl didn't even look 3 years old. In the past, Li Pan had thought that she was already blessed by the heavens with her talent. But compared to this little girl, the difference was like heaven and earth. Chen Zhao could only roll his eyes at this. Where are we going next? Li Pan asked. She was also curious. The battlefield of the third night definitely wouldn't stay in Istanbul. If it was in the city, it would have disastrous consequences. Not just spiritualists, but also ordinary people. Wasteland Market, Chen Zhao said. Wasteland Market? Isn't that already sealed? Li Pan's voice paused. She suddenly remembered that Chen Zhao could convince Celestial Master Zhang to let her advance directly. This meant that his background was extraordinary, so it wasn't strange for him to have the right to enter and exit Wasteland Market. When are the others coming? Li Pan asked. Others? Who else? Helpers, of course, Li Pan said matter-of-factly. Naturally, Li Pan thought that Chen Zhao had already gathered a large group of helpers. Aren't you? Apart from me? No one else. The others can't help. Li Pan grabbed her neatly combed hair and yelled hysterically. Are you crazy? Just me and you? Against the third night? More accurately, just me. You're just a support. Chapter 23:15. Is it too late for me to quit now? It's too late. Chen Zhao brought Li Pan to a remote entrance. Zhang Tianyi had given him this entrance. Moreover, no special conditions were required. All that was required was the input of mana. Chen Zhao glanced at Li Pan, who was standing still in front of the entrance. Do you need me to push you in? Helpless, Li Pan was pushed on the back by Chen Zhao. Li Pan fell into the entrance. In an instant the world spun. When Li Pan opened her eyes again, she was already in the desolate land market. At this moment, they were on the rooftop of a dilapidated building. Chen Zhao followed closely behind. The wasteland market had become a wasteland. Everything was so desolate. There were ruins everywhere. Li Pan had also participated in the trial last time. Therefore, he had seen the wasteland market after it was destroyed, but it was not as direct as this time. As far as the eye could see, all he could see was a scene of doomsday. There was no sign of life, only a deathly silence amidst the desolation. Chen Zhao looked around. This place had been destroyed by his battle with the Red Demon. However, it was also because of that battle that the spiritual energy of the world here became very abundant. Coupled with the fact that this place was abandoned, there was no one to manage the entrance. The spiritual energy from the outside world was no longer obstructed in entering this place. So this place could actually be considered a part of the real world. Even ordinary people had the opportunity to enter this place. This place was actually very similar to the alternate dimension that Chen Zhao had created in Mingyue Villa. The alternate dimension that Chen Zhao had created was also open. As long as they could find the entrance, they could enter. Moreover, there were no special conditions set for the entrance. Of course, Chen Zhao's alternate dimension was even more barren than this place. After all, there was a mirror image here in reality. On the other hand, the alternate dimension that Chen Zhao had created was barren. Other than a large area of land and water from the outside, and air from the outside, there was nothing else. Li Pan looked at him. What about now? What are you going to do? Find a spacious area, Chen Zhao said. This building isn't suitable for a battlefield. As soon as he said that, the roof under his feet shook slightly. Li Pan almost lost her balance. Fortunately, Chen Zhao supported her with one hand. I agree with you. Let's leave this place as soon as possible. It feels dangerous here. Li Pan could even feel the entire building shaking. The building under their feet was already leaning a little. After the shaking just now, the angle of the tilt increased further. However, there were no elevators here, and they were in a high-rise building. Li Pan walked down a few floors and found that the tremors were still coming. Moreover, the tilt of the building was increasing. Are we going to die here? Li Pan's expression was extremely unsightly. They were not here to fight against the collapsing building. If he really died here, then he would have died before he could succeed. How sullen would that be? Don't go down. Go to the edge, Chen Zhao said. Walk along the edge. You're not thinking of jumping down, are you? I don't have a strong constitution like yours. I'm not an enhancer. Li Pan said. Moreover, you're carrying a child. Even if you're fine, your daughter won't be able to endure it. However, Chen Zhao didn't care about Li Pan's objection at all and left the safe passage. Chen Zhao smashed a window and looked outside. From his angle, he could clearly see the degree of tilt of the building. You're not really thinking of jumping, are you? Chen Zhao glanced at Li Pan and reached out. Grab my arm. What are you doing? No. Seeing the height outside the building, Li Pan's legs turned to jelly. Seeing that Li Pan wasn't willing, Chen Zhao grabbed her shoulder and leaped out. Ah! Accompanied by Li Pan's hysterical screams, Chen Zhao pulled her and slid down the glass wall of the building at high speed. However, they slid down a little faster. Soon Li Pan felt nothing under her feet. They had already slid out from the bottom of the building. As Li Pan screamed, she suddenly stepped on the ground. Affected by inertia, she continued to rush forward. Chen Zhao let go of Li Pan so that she wouldn't get hurt. After running for a dozen meters, Li Pan fell to the ground. Chen Zhao landed on the ground steadily. He only took 2 steps forward to get rid of the inertia. Li Pan jumped up and roared. I'm going to kill you. Chen Zhao allowed Li Pan's weak fists to hit him. Okay, you've vented enough. Let's get down to business. At this moment, Li Pan recovered a little and turned around to look at the tilting building in front of her. She couldn't believe that she had really slid down the glass wall. No matter how she looked at it, it was impossible. More accurately, it was impossible for her to be unscathed. But in the end, she was really unscathed. At least, ignoring the fact that she had fallen to the ground, she was indeed unscathed. Of course, Li Pan wasn't a physicist, so she didn't think too long. She couldn't understand it anyway, so there was no need to waste her brain power. Chen Zhao didn't plan on explaining it to her either. Before coming in, Chen Zhao had already found a battlefield in the real Istanbul city. As a mirror image of Istanbul, the layout here was basically the same as Istanbul. This was Istanbul's city hall. In front of the hall was a park square. The view was wide and the terrain was flat. Help me carry my daughter. Chen Zhao placed Jerlin in Li Pan's arms. Go sit there. Tell me if you're hungry. Carrying Jerlin, Li Pan found a place to sit. Chen Zhao started to get busy. Li Pan looked at Chen Zhao's figure. She saw Chen Zhao stomp a hole in the originally flat and solid ground, and then stuff a white crystal into the hole. She didn't understand Chen Zhao's intentions, nor did she know what he'd stuffed in. Chen Zhao circled around the area, the diameter getting bigger and bigger. Not long after, the entire square was surrounded by countless small pits. Li Pan looked at the countless holes around her. She guessed that this was some kind of magic array. But what shocked her more was the way Chen Zhao had set it all up. Chen Zhao had only made each hole with 1 step. This method wasn't difficult for any spiritualist. But the problem was that there wasn't 1, 10, or 100 small pits here. Instead, there were thousands of them. From Li Pan's angle, she felt like she was on a beehive. After working for more than an hour, Chen Zhao finally finished. Then, he went to Li Pan and took out some food. Hungry? Chapter 23:16. Chen Zhao and Li Pan both ate something. Then they sat down and rested, waiting for the time to pass. There was no obvious change in time in Desolate Bazaar. However, Chen Zhao and Li Pan could feel the changes in the spiritual qi. The spiritual qi seemed to have become denser. Beep! Just then, Chen Zhao heard his phone beep. It was 7 o'clock. For some reason, Li Pan suddenly felt pressured. An unbearable pressure surged into her heart. Just then, Chen Zhao stood up and started moving his limbs. Hey, is it about to start? Li Pan became even more nervous. The third night. She didn't think that she would have to face the third night one day. Yes, Chen Zhao replied indifferently. At this moment, a crack suddenly appeared in the originally dusky sky. Then the crack grew bigger and bigger. Li Pan looked up at the sky, shock written all over her face. That was because the crack in the sky was actually an eye. A huge blood-red eye. It spanned the entire sky and seemed even larger than Desolate Bazaar. What was this? Something like that would appear on the third night? What a joke. How could something like that appear on the third night? The huge eye's pupil moved left and right. In the end, it focused on where Chen Zhao was. No, more accurately, it was staring at little Jerlin. What is that? What happened? Li Pan asked in fear. Don't worry about anything, Chen Zhao said calmly. When I need your moonlight magic, just use it. You don't have to do anything before I ask you to. Hey, do you really think that's something that should have appeared? Li Pan's voice was filled with fear. Don't worry. My daughter is also on the third night. I'm very experienced, Chen Zhao answered perfunctorily. Then he waved his hand. Okay, looks like we're going to get busy. At that moment, a strange creature appeared in the gigantic red eye. When those things emerged from the red eye, they were only small dots due to the distance. But when they approached, Li Pan's scalp exploded. They were countless monsters. They were 100-meter-long winged black-skinned snakes. There was an explosion of numbers. Chen Zhao frowned. The things in the sky weren't normal creatures, but they weren't hell creatures either. They didn't have a demonic aura. The angelic crystal he had set up beforehand did not work. Chen Zhao had thought that the attacking monsters on Silent Night were either spirits or hell creatures. Angelic crystals were extremely useful against both spirits and hell creatures. Moreover, with the angelic crystals he had set up, he was confident that he could destroy even a demon army led by a great lord. But in the end, what in the world was this monster that popped out? Wasn't Lilith deeply related to hell and demons? But why wasn't it a creature of the real world, or a creature of hell? Their auras were very unfamiliar to Chen Zhao. Let's run, Li Pan said while trembling with fear. Can you outrun them? Chen Zhao looked back at Lilith. But, alright, it's none of your business now. I'll talk to you when I need you. Chen Zhao moved. He pushed off with both feet and shot into the sky. Spiderwebs appeared on the ground. What amazing jumping ability. Li Pan's eyes widened as she watched Chen Zhao soar into the sky. But Chen Zhao was just one person. Compared to the winged snakes, he was like an ant. Moreover, the direction he was jumping towards seemed to be the mouth of the leading snake. That's right. Damn. Is that guy committing suicide? Li Pan stood up abruptly and watched as Chen Zhao charged into the snake's mouth. Then the giant snake closed its mouth. It's over. Li Pan's mind went blank. He's dead. That guy is dead for sure. Then it's my turn. Damn. Why did I agree to face third night? He died a quick death. But what did he mean by throwing his daughter to him? What should I do now? Just as Li Pan was hesitating, the body of the snake in the sky suddenly twisted. Then it exploded in the sky. Blood rained down from the sky. Chen Zhao was holding a huge heart. This huge heart was dug out from the body of the giant snake. He could feel that the heart contained a large amount of magic power. Based on his past experience, the more magic power there was in the flesh, the better the quality. Thus, Chen Zhao had left the heart behind out of habit. Li Pan's jaw dropped. She stared at Chen Zhao, who was hovering in the sky with the heart raised high. That guy can fly. That guy could fly. And he could even move such a huge thing. Why didn't he just fly me down from the building? Li Pan was filled with resentment. Suddenly, a bloody mouth bit at Chen Zhao. Be careful. Li Pan called out in alarm, but her voice couldn't travel that far. Chen Zhao started moving again. He turned around and punched. In an instant, the snake's body exploded, blood and flesh splattering everywhere. Li Pan's pupils constricted. Yesterday when she and Ederson fought Chen Zhao, she felt that Chen Zhao was real. He really had mercy. Yesterday, Chen Zhao had also punched Ederson. But Ederson had only been unconscious for half a day. He didn't explode like the snake in the sky. Chen Zhao felt that it was a pity that he had gone too far. Chen Zhao put away the heart in his hand and wondered if he should find a chef who knew how to cook magic creatures. After all, He had collected many magic creatures, but he had only cooked them using the most ordinary methods. Chen Zhao felt that there should be more ways to cook these magic creatures to release all the magic power in the meat. As Chen Zhao's thoughts ran wild, he killed another dozen snakes in the sky. Compared to the total number, it was only a small portion. But Chen Zhao's face was full of grief. Oh no, I didn't collect their hearts in time. Li Pan's expression had completely frozen. She couldn't believe her eyes. It must be an illusion. It must be an illusion. But the more she hypnotized herself, the more numb her scalp became. That guy was so powerful. In front of him, the giant snakes in the sky couldn't fight back at all. It was a one-sided massacre. Chapter 23:17. Suddenly, Li Pan saw a huge head fly toward her. She squatted on the ground in fear, hugging her head and shivering. But the next moment, she heard a whistling sound. When she looked up again, she saw the huge head fall a few meters away. Looking at the huge head and comparing it to himself, Li Pan could clearly feel how small he was, as well as how terrifying this huge snake was. But no matter how terrifying it was, Chen Zhao would destroy it. The real monster wasn't the snakes but Chen Zhao, who was crazily slaughtering. However, compared to Chen Zhao's slaughter, the number of snakes was a bit too much. Moreover, more snakes kept coming out of the bloody eye in the sky. Chen Zhao wasn't in a hurry. If they were all snakes, it would be easy for him. No matter how many ants there were, they were still ants. In movies, ants that could devour humans did exist in tropical rainforests, but they were unnatural ant colonies. Normal ants couldn't devour humans. Chen Zhao would rather face a group of ants. But there were really too many ants. Chen Zhao wanted to kill them one by one, but his killing speed couldn't keep up with the snake's increasing speed. More importantly, Chen Zhao was a bit greedy. He still wanted to collect the snake's hearts. Li Pan also realized that Chen Zhao's killing speed couldn't keep up with the snake's appearance. She started to worry. There were so many snakes. Chen Zhao might not be able to kill that many even if he died of exhaustion. Moreover, his killing speed seemed to have slowed down. Was he tired already? But he hadn't even killed 1% of the snakes. It seemed that it was too much for him to do it alone. Chen Zhao finally stopped. He put away the last snake heart and turned to look at the serpent that was still charging at him. The snakes were already huge, and there were tens of thousands of them. From below, they looked like dark clouds that covered the sky. Chen Zhao took a deep breath and slowly raised his palms. He was activating the power of the world. Li Pan's pupils constricted. She couldn't help but rub her eyes. She wasn't sure if she was seeing things. There was a pair of incomparably huge hands scooping up from below. Almost all the giant snakes were enveloped by the pair of giant palms. All the giant snakes gave up on attacking and turned to flee upwards. However, their speed of escape was clearly not fast enough. The giant palm began to close, and the number of snakes that could escape the range of the giant palm was pitiful. Rumble, accompanied by a thunderous roar, the giant palm finally closed completely. What flowed out from the cracks of the giant palm was a large amount of flesh and blood. Li Pan's face was drained of blood as he stared at Chen Zhao in shock. She felt her scalp go numb. How could he attack such a monster? Before coming here, he was still planning how to fight back. At this moment, she could only rejoice like never before. At the same time, she also understood why Chen Zhao was confident that he could protect his daughter through the third night alone. What kind of magic is that? Does China have such terrifying magic? With Li Pan's realm, it was clear that she couldn't understand what sure was. Originally, Li Pan thought that this would be a bitter battle, but Chen Zhao ended the battle easily. But why hasn't he come down yet? What is he looking at? Chen Zhao looked up at the sky and the huge blood-red eye in the sky. Suddenly, Chen Zhao raised his arm and released a beam of holy light at the eye. However, the holy light cannon penetrated the blood-red eye, and nothing happened. It wasn't a creature's eye. It was probably created by some kind of magic or some kind of entrance. It was like a magic formation, but not in the normal form. Just when Li Pan thought that everything was over, hands suddenly reached out from the blood-red eye. There were so many of them, that it made one's hair stand on end. They were so densely packed that it made one's scalp go numb. It looked like the surface of the eye was covered in fur. This strange scene sent chills down one's spine. Just then, all the palms spread out from the center like a wave. In the center of the countless palms, a woman's figure slowly appeared. Chen Zhao frowned. It wasn't because of the woman's strength, but because this strange entrance made him uncomfortable. As the woman descended, the palms started leaving the blood-red eye and forming a pair of incomparably huge wings on her back. The wings extended for at least 20 to 30 kilometers. Li Pan couldn't stand still. Her legs were weak. The terrifying scene and the terrifying woman made her scalp go numb. The woman stopped when she was more than 100 meters above the ground. She looked down at Chen Zhao. At the same time, more monsters appeared from the blood-red eye in the sky. They also had wings and were similarly huge. They looked like crocodiles, but they were even fiercer and scarier. However, Chen Zhao was still most concerned about the woman. She gave off an ominous aura. Without any warning, the attack came. The woman pointed at Chen Zhao. The wings formed from countless palms reformed into a huge fist and punched at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao also raised his right arm and punched with the power of the world. Rumble! There was an earth-shattering sound, accompanied by a huge impact. Li Pan saw the ground in front of her rise continuously. Soon it would reach her. Just then, a black barrier blocked the impact. Li Pan looked at the black barrier in surprise. Soon, she realized that the black barrier had spread out from under Chen Zhao's feet. Chen Zhao's punch dissipated, and the woman's huge fist was also shattered. However, new wings quickly formed on the woman's back. Chen Zhao had originally thought that the wings formed from the arms were made of flesh and blood. Now it seemed that the wings weren't real either. Instead, they were made from magic. Just then, the wings on the woman's back suddenly flashed with countless light spots. The colors of the electricity were very bright and beautiful, as if the bright stars were embellishing the wings. But very quickly, Chen Zhao and Li Pan realized what those dots of light were. They were magic. Many spells. Tens of thousands were indescribable. They were hundreds of thousands, millions of spells. Even Chen Zhao was shocked. It was an unprecedented scene. The woman could release millions of spells at the same time. What did that mean? Even if each spell was of the lowest level, it was still millions of spiritualists releasing spells at the same time. Moreover, Chen Zhao could feel that many of the spells in the chaotic magic waves were extremely powerful. Chapter 23:18. Both Li Pan and Chen Zhao watched as the countless spells fell like rain. The overwhelming number of spells caused Li Pan to despair. Chen Zhao lifted his finger, and a dark curtain rose. It blocked most of the spells. The spells landed on the curtain of darkness, creating ripples. Soon, the curtain of darkness was riddled with holes. Spells passed through the dark curtain and shot toward Chen Zhao. It's over. Li Pan's mind went blank. Chen Zhao's curtain of darkness didn't even block a third of it. Then, he looked at the densely packed spells. That was not a situation that humans could face. Devour. The mouth of gluttony on Chen Zhao's right arm opened. He hadn't used the mouth of gluttony's devour ability in a long time. This time, Chen Zhao couldn't do anything. The woman had too many skills. However, as soon as Chen Zhao activated the mouth of gluttony, his entire right arm detached from his shoulder. It fell to the ground and turned into a huge beast. The beast looked exactly the same as Beelzebub Zophie's original form. It was just that it was not as huge as Beelzebub Zophie. Li Pan was dumbfounded. What the hell was this? The glutton formed from Chen Zhao's arm opened its bloody mouth. All of the magic was instantly sucked in by a powerful suction force. Chen Zhao was confused. His right arm had left his shoulder and turned into the gluttonous beast at the same time. But he was still connected to the glutton behemoth. His every thought could be transmitted to the gluttony behemoth. After devouring countless spells, all the energy was gathered by the glutton behemoth's mouth and compressed into a colorful energy ball. Bang! All the energy in the energy ball burst out in an instant. The energy ball was too fast, and the woman didn't have time to dodge. Half of her body was directly penetrated by the energy ball, leaving only the lower half of her body. Meanwhile, The energy ball continued to shoot towards the sky like a hot knife through butter. He flew 10,000 meters into the sky before exploding. All the haze and dark clouds were swept away in an instant. The light released by the energy ball was like a supernova explosion. The scene was incomparable and indescribable. The entire sky became incomparably pure. All the monsters that came out of the blood-red eyes were instantly wiped out. The beast of gluttony turned back into Chen Zhao's arm. The woman in the sky finally revealed a look of surprise. At this moment, she only had half of her body left, but there was no sign of pain on her face. You are very powerful. For thousands of years, I have never met a human as powerful as you. The woman finally spoke. I should feel honored to be praised by the first witch Lilith. Even the few gods I've met aren't as powerful as you. Lilith. Li Pan was also shocked. She did not know Lilith's true identity. However, there was basically no one in the spirit world who didn't know of him. This woman is Lilith. The legendary Lilith? Who is that girl to you? Lilith pointed at little Jerlin in Li Pan's arms. My daughter. Looks like our battle is unavoidable, Lilith said. Are you sure you want to give up your thousands of years of life just to be killed by me? It's indeed difficult for me to defeat you alone, Lilith said. Li Pan could not help but exclaim. Even the first witch admitted that she was no match for this man? Just what realm had this man's strength reached? However, Chen Zhao could tell what Lilith was implying. Just then, the blood-red eyes in the sky gathered again. At the same time, another figure appeared. It was the figure of a woman. The same appearance, the same powerful magic. It was also inauspicious and unsettling. 1, 2, 3, 4, in the end 6 came out. Including the first Lilith, there were 7 in total. Every one of them was immeasurably powerful, and gave off a terrifying aura. Although their auras were equally powerful, they were different. All of them were existences that Chen Zhao could not ignore. Confusion appeared on Chen Zhao's face. The 7 Liliths looked exactly the same, and were all extremely powerful. Was this her clone spell? Or was it some kind of puppet spell where she changed their appearances, and made them all look the same? Suddenly, a sword-wielding Lilith attacked. The sword-wielding Lilith's attack was extremely fierce. She raised her sword above her head, and when it fell down, it turned into a sky-piercing sword aura. Chen Zhao stepped forward and faced the aura, using his body to take it head-on. Rumble! In an instant, the surrounding buildings were all destroyed. The 7 Liliths all raised their eyebrows. They did not expect Chen Zhao to be able to use his body to take such an attack head-on. However, they did not hesitate because of this. One of them, Lilith, pointed her wand at Chen Zhao. Void bind. Chen Zhao immediately felt something invisible binding him. The binding force was quite strong, but it could only bind him for 10 seconds at most. Just as Chen Zhao was about to break free, a huge force came from behind. A Lilith appeared behind Chen Zhao and kicked him away. Chen Zhao landed heavily on the ground. He had to admit that the kick had indeed hurt him. The 3 Liliths had attacked. They each had a different magic system. However, they were all indescribably powerful. All of them were powerful beings that Chen Zhao could not ignore. Moreover, they were not clones. They were all complete individuals. Giving up actually requires courage, the first Lilith said. When you face an irresistible power, you should learn to give up. Cowardice is cowardice. I will never find excuses for it, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Your persistence will not bring you victory. Your daughter will not be hurt. She will become extremely powerful and have an almost eternal life. You should be happy and proud of this, the Lilith said. Change into your cheap appearances first. Chen Zhao thought of what the 23rd Blood Mary had said. Then he looked at the 7 Liliths that had appeared at the same time. It suddenly occurred to him that she, or their purpose, they were assimilating every awakened of nirvana. They would become shells with unified thoughts and power. Therefore, if his daughter fell into their hands, her thoughts would be completely erased. It was no different from death. If you know what your daughter has lost because of your stubbornness, you will regret it. Chen Zhao smiled and raised his middle finger. Chapter 23:19. The moment Chen Zhao raised his middle finger, Lilith of the strengthening faculty moved. Her figure was like a bolt of lightning, so fast that no one could catch her figure. But the moment she stopped, Chen Zhao's hand grabbed her neck. All the Lilith and Li Pan widened their eyes and stared at Chen Zhao in shock. Chen Zhao's arm shone with a dark light. Dark assimilation. No one has ever been able to challenge what I'm best at. As the strengthening Lilith struggled madly, Chen Zhao used smile and cruelty to increase his strength bit by bit. Great power? Eternal life? That's all. Stop. All the Lilith shouted at Chen Zhao with angry voices and incredulous gazes. No. You can't do this. No, I can. Chen Zhao grabbed the strengthening Lilith's head with his other hand and twisted it hard. The head was still in Chen Zhao's hand, but her body had already fallen to the ground powerlessly. You deserve to die. A Lilith, whose entire body was emitting black light, exuded endless darkness. Her arms were raised high, and behind her, a demon Dharma idol filled with darkness appeared. However, a substance darker than her surged towards her. It instantly swallowed her, and her Dharma of evil. Everyone could still see her struggling in the waves of darkness. Chen Zhao widened his eyes. He still had a smile on his face, but his eyes were filled with ferocity. I should teach you a lesson. When one of you can't beat me, it means that all of you can't beat me. Numbers won't bring you victory. It will only make you die more thoroughly. In the end, the dark Lilith completely sank in the waves of darkness. This sent a chill down the spines of all the other Lilith. An unprecedented chill. You might not know, but I've not only defeated many evil and darkness in the past, but I've also swallowed them and turned them into my food. Chen Zhao licked his lips. You want to swallow us? Lilith looked at Chen Zhao coldly. Do you really think you can beat me? Us. Why not? Suddenly, the remaining 5 Lilith attacked Chen Zhao at the same time. They were all using strengthening attacks, pure physical attacks. Boom, boom, boom. Chen Zhao was almost stunned by their attacks. Because of the passive situation, Chen Zhao could only try to distance himself. 5 terrifying enhancing type spirit controllers. Moreover, all 5 Liliths were as powerful as Chen Zhao in his normal state. What do you think? Aren't you surprised? The attack of the 5 Liliths just now was just a warm-up. Chen Zhao frowned at the 5 Liliths. Their powers are interconnected? No, they were not interconnected. If each of them had the power of the enhancement element. Just now, when he used the dark magma to swallow dark Lilith, she could have used her strengthening physique to escape, instead of struggling in the dark magma and being swallowed by it. Chen Zhao's eyes widened in realization. So that's how it is. When I kill one Lilith, the other Lilith will also receive the magic of the dead Lilith. You realized it too late. From the moment you killed the first one, you already had no chance of winning. What about the second one? Chen Zhao's smile became even crueler. The second Lilith that I devoured doesn't seem to have her power returned to you. The expressions of the 5 Liliths changed involuntarily. Seems like I guessed correctly. You're all connected. One's death will cause power to appear in the others, but your power can't appear out of nowhere. Chen Zhao glanced at the 5 Liliths. At the same time, he used his clone technique. 32 Chen Zhao appeared at the same time, each with the same power as Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao used 10,000 combinations again. The 32 Chen Zhao merged into one. 32 times increase. Next, surging spiritual chi surged toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's body turned from black to gold. Giant spirit transformation. 10 times increase. With each increase, Chen Zhao's aura became even more terrifying. Hurry! Kill him! All the Liliths attacked in an instant. But the next moment, the spells all pierced through Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao's body turned into a stream of energy. This time, Chen Zhao chose to attack the sword-wielding Lilith. Lilith swung her sword at Chen Zhao, but her blade and sword aura all missed. Chen Zhao instantly appeared before Lilith. Chen Zhao reached out and pressed on Lilith's chest. Her chest caved in. With a cry, Lilith spat out a mouthful of blood. Chen Zhao grabbed Lilith's sword-wielding hand and twisted it. Lilith screamed again. As if he was using a sword himself, Chen Zhao grabbed Lilith's hand and slashed at herself. Whoosh! One of Lilith's arms was cut off by her own sword. Chen Zhao slashed again, and Lilith's other arm was also cut off. Chen Zhao casually tossed the sword in his hand. The blade pierced through Lilith's chest and pinned her to the ground. "Save me!" Lilith screamed in pain. The other 4 Liliths attacked Chunjiao again. But the spells couldn't do any actual damage to Chunjiao. "Show yourself," the Lilith who'd used incorporeal spells earlier shouted. Chunjiao suddenly turned from an energy body to a solid one. Ah! Chunjiao didn't expect his energy body to turn back into a solid one. But before he could figure it out, the other 4 Liliths' attacks shot at him again. Boom, boom, boom. The surrounding terrain had completely changed under the terrifying attacks. The original square was now a wasteland. There wasn't a single complete building on the ground in the entire street. If Li Pan and Zhilin didn't have Chunjiao's protection, they would have been vaporized in the first round of attacks. The intensity of the attacks was no less than the bombardment of an army equipped with the most advanced weapons. Chunjiao was also very uncomfortable under such attacks. If he allowed them to continue attacking him, even he might not be able to withstand it. Not only did they receive the spells of their fallen comrades, but they also received their power and magic. This was also why Chunjiao didn't kill Lilith earlier. Devour. Chunjiao's right arm turned into a glutton beast again, crazily devouring the incoming spells. "This damn thing will devour our spells," one of the Liliths yelled. "We can't use directional spells. Change to area of effect spells." Both sides were in a stalemate. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.